Hello everybody, welcome to Pipe Up episode 1. My name is Grace and I'm here with Jeff. Jeff, would you like to introduce yourself to the people?
Hi team. I'm Jeff. I'm an IT guy, personal trainer. You might know me from FFP. But we're here to talk things.
So we're going to be doing this every week and it's going to be a big weekly wrap up. So I'm going to bring up the overlay. Where is it? Oh no, my stuff's broken. My stuff's broken. No. There it is. Just take things. First episode. So today we're going to be talking about the following things on the left side. So we are obviously going to be welcoming ourselves first. And to kick that off, my name is iamfallfromgrace, or Grace for short. I've been making content since 2012. And funnily enough, my first ever YouTube video, I'm pretty sure was today, 8 years ago.
8 years.
8 years ago.
That's a long time online.
Yeah. So I've been doing YouTube for a long time and have been streaming on this platform for just over 5 years, I think. So that's how my journey has been. What about you, Jeff, in terms of like content? Content
creation. So I suppose it began much like most people in an amateur format where it was just sort of social media posts here and there. I didn't really become too serious about it until I rocked up to an event one day and people were like, hey Jeff, hey, how you going, man? And I didn't quite understand how they knew who I was, but yeah, there was a bit of reach there. So obviously Grace had helped with the fitness channel side of things. And that's about 3 years ago now, was it, Grace? I think with the...
Yeah, that's so crazy. I can't believe it's been that long.
Yeah, 3 years. 3 years.
So we, like, having streamed on this platform, Twitch, for a long time, some of you guys might be watching this on YouTube as well. I just felt like, as someone who was a full-time gamer and like a full-time streamer and content creator, I felt like there was a big need, and just like Twitch as a platform, I thought worked really well for the type of content that Jeff and I would end up creating, because it is a space where a lot of people are comfortable putting themselves out there a little more. It's like it's a more of a comfort zone for a lot of people with Twitch. And when Jeff and I started training together, when was that? Like April? No.
2017. It would have been early
June,
because the actual
July?
race was... Yeah, the race was in May.
Yeah.
And so we started training around June, July. I think the in my application where I've got all my clients, I'd become an actual PT in July that year.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's around then.
Yeah. So having worked with Jeff, and because I did fitness kind of quotations for a long time, not really making a whole lot of progress, and then actually approaching a professional and getting, programs and seeing real progress, I was like, I want everyone to feel this. I want everyone to have access to this kind of knowledge. So I think that's why we ended up putting it onto Twitch. And it's been a heck of a journey. I think we can both agree.
So how did yours start? So that's sort of my start. How was your start? What led you into that?
Content or?
Yeah.
Content wise, it was 2012, so YouTube it wasn't super new, but there wasn't a lot of people making like quality content, and my content for the first like 3 years was not quality. So I was inspired by a lot of other YouTubers that I watched, like PewDiePie and Cry Plays. They were the two main ones for me, and like C-Nanas. And I felt like there wasn't a whole lot of female perspective, and especially not from Australia. So I felt like I could bring something kind of unique to the platform, and that's why I started. And I saw obviously it took a long time, but I started to see progress and reach and relative success. And as soon as my internet got a little better, being in Australia, I took the leap and started doing live content. And I absolutely fell in love with Twitch as a platform, because you can connect with your audience so much better when it's live. Like I kind of felt like I knew my community on YouTube, but obviously like Discord also wasn't a thing. So in terms of having like a chat room, there wasn't really a lot of options at the time. So connecting with your audience when you were a YouTuber, it was kind of just done through the comment section, and we all know what the YouTube comment section's like. So that was interesting. But yeah, when I started streaming on Twitch, I instantly fell in love with the live aspect and being able to chat to people on the fly, and then Discord has just escalated that as well in getting to know people.
I don't know if this is a topic for another day or not, but it just sort of occurred to me. Like, I wanted to ask the list of creators that you mentioned at the beginning there that you were watching when you decided to start creating. How much do you think their content actually shaped what you create now?
Probably like a decent amount, because I did a lot of Call of Duty, what is it called? Like commentary, like live gameplay commentaries. So it'd just be like my best ever COD game with me talking about something over the top of it, which was very common content back in like 2012. And that was definitely influenced from people like Seedanners and Hutch and Woody's Gamertag and those types of guys, like the old school COD guys. Because Call of Duty was kind of my background in gaming. Like I played COD with my dad all the time when I was like 13, 14. So Call of Duty was always at the forefront, and that's also what I started streaming on Twitch, was Call of Duty Zombies. So I think COD was heavily influenced from my gaming background and also the people that I watched. And then the horror aspect was definitely influenced from PewDiePie and Cry as two people that did a lot of horror stuff. And when I first started, I was so bad at horror. Like my first ever horror video was playing the original Slender. And I was like nearly crying, and now I play that game, I'm like, this is pathetic. It's so pathetic. So yeah, I think I really wanted to be better at horror, so I exposed myself to horror more and more because I really love the concept, and like being scared kind of makes you feel alive as well.
It's like threshold training.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. What about you in terms of like gaming wise?
Gaming, yeah. So I'm as most people that are in my stream can see from the salt and pepper hair, I'm an older gentleman. So I come from a slightly different vintage where Grace is saying, when she began, she was playing COD, where I remember when things like Medal of Honor started off as a Half-Life mod. So it was basically...
Did it really?
Yeah. So a lot of those World War II games actually same like Counter-Strike CS.
Yep.
So CS 0.2, 0.3, they all started off as mods for Half-Life. And so Half-Life, I don't know how much people these days realize, but Steam and Valve and the team behind Half-Life was so seminal in the gaming industry now. I remember before we had gaming launches like Steam, where everything was a box and it was all sort of bricks and mortar. That came from that team. And so Half-Life itself brought so much to the gaming universe. So yeah, Medal of Honor. I think COD was a standalone, but Medal of Honor came out as a competitor to COD.
Yeah, right.
And all those sorts of things. And I think Max Payne actually came out of a mod for Half-Life, which was called the Action Hero mod, where you could actually dive left and right and things like that. So I mean, that's kind of where I'm from. I'm from the older generation, Quake 1. Original Duke Nukem 3D, original Duke Nukem when it was a platformer, much like I'm really enjoying Neon Abyss now, and I think it's because it feels like the original Duke Nukem. So I'm an old school gamer, and I think not to play into the stereotype, but that was me. I was the stereotypical. I sat down for a lot of my life. I put a lot of time into eating Cheetos and playing games, and it just it wrecked me. It wrecked me until my 30th birthday, and that's when I kind of took that fitness change. But at the same time, keeping true to myself. I am a gamer. I enjoy games a lot, and as with yourself, Grace, we can change the stereotype. It's not necessarily how things are meant to be. It's just how they have been in the past. Yeah, totally. And I think I think that's why we thought this show would really work, is because we have very different perspectives. Obviously with like a 10-year age gap as well, our histories are a little different, and our generations of what we were into. Like Jeff knows a lot about the older games, things that I probably never played. But we do have games in common as well, like Fallout and Doom and like those types of things that we all love and know and love to play. And these days, which we will touch on in one of our upcoming topics, a lot of the brand new stuff coming out isn't actually brand new. It's bringing the same mechanics from older things. It's the tried and tested things that people know are fun, and bringing them back to the new generation.
Yeah. definitely. So I think that's a good intro of who we are as gamers, content creators, fitness fanatics. So do we want to jump into the first part of the stream, which is wins and losses of the week? And this is something where chat can also jump into the conversation. Obviously,
Absolutely.
this show being called Pipe Up, we want you guys to pipe up and we want you guys to interact with us and converse with us when the time is right. If we're in the middle of a topic, we probably will kind of ignore you guys a little bit. But yeah, we want you guys to be a part of the conversation. So do you want to kick off with, are you going to do your win or your loss of the week?
So I suppose I can probably start off with the loss because that's kind of been topical. If you're following Fit for Purpose and you're expecting to see me every weekday morning, Wednesday and Thursday mornings I did not appear because my weekly loss had something to do with that. I was attacked by a bird. So in Australia here it is it's September now.
Known as swooping season.
Yeah, swooping September.
Yeah.
So the magpies and what are the little grey ones? What are they called? The noisy
miners?
Yeah.
Noisy
so
ones.
Noisy.
Swoopy boys.
They now it's for good reason. They all become very protective of their young. They the mating season has been, and they've got some eggs that they're protecting. So they take threats seriously. And one of them saw me as a serious threat, and it barraged into my head and drew blood, and I had to go see a doctor, and I had to have a whole bunch of things injected into me. And the tetanus shot really, really hurts.
Yeah.
Have you had one recently, Grace?
No, I probably should go get that. You're
I don't
supposed
think
to
it's
get
necessary.
them every 10 years?
5 to 10 years,
Okay.
depending on whether or not a wound is clean or dirty,
Yeah.
apparently.
So would you just go get one if you don't have any wounds?
Nah. So
Okay.
apparently you don't have to go repeat
Right.
until something happens.
Gotcha.
So that's why when I called him, I explained to him what happened, and he said, hey, when was the last time you had a shot? And I'm like, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're coming in straight away. Please come in straight away. Get
Okay,
get
so
your
if
stuff
you'd had
together.
one in the last 3-4 years, probably would have been okay.
Yeah. So apparently if you've had one, say if you had one 4 years ago,
Yeah.
and you have a cut, doesn't matter whether it's clean or dirty, it's okay.
Okay.
If you have a cut and it was 6 years ago,
Yeah.
if the instrument or the cut is dirty, then you have to go have one.
Okay.
If it was clean, like a kitchen knife,
Yeah.
you're okay. But if it's 10 years or more and you cut yourself,
Definitely
whether it's
go.
clean or dirty,
Yeah.
definitely go. Yeah.
Okay. PSA to everybody in the chat.
Yeah. But the problem with the tetanus one, apparently it is the second most painful shot that you
Really?
can get.
What's number
Yeah.
one? Do you know?
Number one is actually the life-saving shot for cervical cancer.
Oh, okay.
So apparently that one rates as one of the most painful, but I think it's only because of the demographic. Usually it's given to younger. I'm not going to say it's a woman versus man thing, but it's just younger people. Young women get it, and younger people tend to have a bit of a lower pain threshold.
Yeah.
So I think that's why that's it. So for blokes, tetanus is going to be one of the most painful that you can get. Not just the shot. Like the shot itself was fine. Like I was expecting a huge blast.
Afterwards.
It's the pain afterwards. Yeah, the muscle really hurts.
Yeah, birds are dirty. They carry a lot of disease and bacteria.
Magpies are carrion eaters, they call them. So they actually eat dead flesh. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's oh, that made me feel weird. Yeah.
Did you want to cover your loss before we talk about wins?
I don't it sounds like a cop out, but I was thinking about it. I don't know if I really have one. I don't know. I don't really have a loss of the week. It's been a kind of a good week for me, and it feels
great
weird
week?
saying that because I know, just to also touch on relevant topics, technically it's still Are You OK Day in America, I think. It was Are You OK Day here yesterday. And I feel guilty because everyone was sharing their stories in Discord and everyone was having a shit time, and I'm like, all right, I'm just having a good week. I don't know. I literally can't think of anything.
That's all right. Because I'm having trouble thinking of a win for me. I know that sounds awful, but
Yeah. Well, I have a couple that I can definitely talk about.
Oh, let's talk about that then.
Wow. Okay. So the joke that I tried earlier in FFP was a loss, apparently. So thanks a lot, Mikey.
Oh, wait, one sec.
So I said, someone in chat was like, hey, this community is really great. And I was like, yeah, everyone here is pretty great except for Mikey. And then he roasted me.
So I have to put it out there. I am reading chat. I'm just not sort of jumping in and cutting off Grace or cutting off the conversation. I'm trying really hard not to get distracted, guys.
Yeah, I got you. I'll keep you on track, don't worry.
Yeah, cheers.
I have a couple wins from the week. So it's kind of, I've kind of turned losses from previous weeks into wins this week. So for a couple of weeks, I've been really inside my own head about my stream and stuff. And the longer that lockdown goes on and whatnot, it's been hard as a solo creator who streams, 6, 7, 8 hours a day to not start to feel a little stagnant because, it's me and the same 50 to 100 people most days chatting. And I mean, there's only so much, when you catch up with people too regularly and then you're just like, yeah, we don't really have a lot to catch up on because we see each other every day or whatever. So for a little while, I've been like really in my own head and I'm trying to lean on story games and stuff to let the games kind of lead the conversation so that I can have a bit of pressure off me because I've just been like, I'm over, like I'm boring, like I suck, I'm the worst streamer ever. Like I just been really in my own head about it. So taking that loss into this week, I've tried to create some different interesting content and leaning on games like Tell Me Why, which is super dialogue heavy, Unheard, which was also like literally an audio listening game, so I didn't really have to talk over it. Doing something interesting like the Fall Guys stream on Wednesday where I was putting shirts on every time I lost, and today's stream as well, like really just trying to break out and do different content that I normally wouldn't do. I think that's been a really big win for me today, and also adding like ridiculous sounds to my soundboard. It's something that I've been wanting to do for ages. I've got the Stream Deck XL that has 32 buttons and now I have 3 pages of sound effects.
Are they active on there now?
They are. I haven't used them yet. So just taking time to, I think rather than trying to, I think it's something that a lot of streamers fall into the trap of doing is trying to always be live. And I think it works for some people, definitely. Like Pestily can stream for 48 hours straight and that's awesome. Like props to that guy because I can't do that. But I think for me, it's better for me to maybe not stream like yesterday, maybe not do a stream on a Thursday and spend the day making an overlay for this stream, making sound effects, editing videos to, cross-pollinate on other social media platforms to try and get, people coming in from outside sources. So I think always being live for me doesn't really work. I think spending that time making the content better quality, like maybe the streams will be a little shorter, but they'll be better. And I think if I feel better about the content will be better and you guys will receive it better. So yeah, I think for me, that's been like a really big win for the week for sure.
That's fair. And like there's so much in this discussion, and this is why I really, actually, I'll change my answer.
Yeah.
I think the win is us getting this together and having it, because like from what your answer just then, there is so much we could deconstruct and have a chat about. Like when we talk about the mental health aspect of what we do, and I suppose it's really weird that I'm starting to now just come to terms with thinking of myself as a creator or as an influencer. That's kind of funny word. But when you have someone like Pestily doing 48-hour streams, I can't help but think about how he's keeping his mental health aspect in check, how he's holding relationships together, how he's, just getting the laundry done, things like that. Just day-to-day life things.
Even just like physically existing, like after I do a 12-hour stream, I need a day to recover. And that throws my whole entire schedule out. It throws out my workout schedule, my eating schedule, my sleeping schedule. Like it just, it's crazy. I don't know how they do it.
And obviously for me, things like, fitting a workout in, recovering from a workout, eating, even just eating on a 48-hour stream, I don't see how you could like cook something healthy, prepare something decent for yourself. It's going to be, it's going to be fast and potentially bad stuff. So yeah, there's so much that we can unpack there. But no, it's really cool that you've taken the losses and turned them around. And I think that's one of those things that we try and do with our lives is taking the losses and making a lesson out of them. Trying to figure out how we can move forward from those things.
Yeah. So chat, do you want to share your wins and losses of the week? Let us know what you guys have been up to. I think another it's just been a week full of wins for me. Also just getting on top of the workouts and stuff. Like you guys know that I've always consistently worked out to a degree. It was kind of getting to a point where I was really focused on the stream because I felt like I wasn't doing super well on stream. So I was like really pushing myself to make that my main focus, because you guys know this is my job. This is my main source of income. So if this crumbles, then I have to get a quote unquote real job. And that's not something I want to do. So when I feel like this isn't going super well, I go into grind mode. I try to change things up. I try to keep things interesting. And sometimes that is at the expense of a workout. Whereas this week, my main focus has been, okay, I'm going to get up and do the workouts on FFP. I'm going to make sure that I'm there for the Monday, Wednesday, Friday afternoon ones, Tuesday, Thursdays in the morning, and then, something big on the weekend. So yeah,
sorry I had to bail on the Thursday one.
Yeah. How dare you get attacked by a bear? So inconsiderate. But yeah, I think getting back on top of that, I think it's very easy to forget how good you feel when you're eating well and you're exercising like a beast.
Yeah.
I feel amazing.
You feel amazing. That's good. That's good. And it's one of those things that you can say. I found from experience, you can say I feel amazing. You're going to feel amazing by doing this, but until
you've
someone
felt
actually,
it. Yeah,
exactly.
Totally.
So, yep.
Yes.
So I actually had a couple of things. Nath was saying that he was in the military. So I assume we're talking about Pestily. He was in the military and his wife prepared food for him. So he was looking after himself as much as he can in those streams. So that's good. So
yeah, cool.
I think that goes to say, I suppose it goes to display that he's not actually just a nobody doing these things.
Totally.
Being in the military, you do sometimes go under some sort of endurance type stress. Hello, Nano. How you going? Hello.
You learn a lot of discipline too, like.
Yeah, discipline, and just digging deep, which I wanted to mention as well, like to sort of a little bit of a metaphor, because the human mind works best learning via metaphors. How you're saying that, you know what, this is your full-time job. You like if something were to happen, there's that bailout that you have to think about, but it's kind of like a squat, right? If you're at the bottom of a squat, you're not thinking about bailing out. You're thinking about just putting everything into it so you can pick yourself up. So that's one of those little strategies that you can have to, I suppose just push yourself forward. If you keep thinking about the bailout and what you're going to do when you fail, it's more likely that you're going to be comfortable with failing at that, if that makes sense.
You might even steer towards it too, because you're subconsciously thinking like, okay, this is probably what's going to happen. So I'm going to, I always say like prepare for the worst but hope for the best. Like know what the outcome's going to be if you don't succeed, but don't focus on that being the thing that's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when you're mountain biking, you don't want to look at that rock because you'll hit it.
Yeah, if you've got clip-in pedals, don't look at the bridge.
That's right.
Also, I wanted to quickly touch on, I'm going to read some things from chat. I got a lot of people sharing their wins and
I've got a
losses.
few here as well, so we can share them in turn. Yep.
I just want to touch on, we are going to do a fitness Q&A type of thing. You can see in the schedule towards the end. So if you guys do have fitness questions, if you don't know, FFP Jeff or FitForPurpose on the other screen in the squad is a qualified PT. I've been training with him for almost 3 years. So can recommend his advice. He is qualified. He is someone that can provide you with fitness advice backed with knowledge, not just an influencer being like, drink water and do squats.
Hydrate, chat.
Okay, so I'm going to share a couple of wins and losses.
Go for it.
Road Mike's biggest win, getting down 5 kilograms. Yeah.
Hey, nice.
And that is on FFP Jeff's program, as well as controlling his intake of food. Awesome. GG's. Beeffoot started the 12-week challenge again, going strong so far. Fiticus, too many losses in Valorant. Journey got into and started grad school. Dude, amazing.
Hey, congratulations.
Nice. What are you studying? Miss Plow, getting my diet in check and recommitting back to the gym. Used to just gym with friends, but now I'm going on my own and smashing it. Yes.
Nice.
Love that. GM Chef, win and loss is a double-sided coin. I've learned that I'm in early stage diabetes, but the good news is I've caught it and I can turn it around. That's great. We have a lot of people in chat that have, and Jeff, you have experience with that as well. Your mum is diabetic.
Oops.
I think Road Mike's
Yes.
as well. Road Mike's, you are diabetic as well.
Yeah, so my mum's type 2 now, which is one that has, it's sort of a later onset, which, for those that don't know, or don't know the difference, type 1 diabetes is usually from birth, and it's sometimes a genetic thing, sometimes some other disorder there, which basically you don't have the right insulin response. So you need to be injecting insulin. Type 2 diabetes normally comes from a sort of a stressing of the body. I'm not going to say sort of abusing the body, because that sort of infers that you're doing yourself wrong. But I mean, to be honest, it's some poor choices have been made sometimes, and has led to the body basically, or parts of the body fatiguing and not being able to respond with insulin. So that's a later onset type thing.
Poor choices slash probably lack of awareness, or just
lack of
not
education.
Thinking about it,
Correct.
Just taking your body for granted and the processes it does.
Yep. And like you said, I'm not being aware. So in the past, sort of the sugar industry has pushed a whole lot of things which we haven't realized has been bad, and it's led to some bad things, etc. So we know a little bit better now. We know a little bit more. And funnily enough, things like Alzheimer's are actually being connected to metabolic diseases now. So some people are calling Alzheimer's diabetes type 3.
Really?
Which is really interesting.
Interesting.
That's something that we're pretty aware of, and it needs to be managed. It's not a death sentence. It's not a a cage that you live in, but it's just something that you can put a few more restrictions around your day-to-day life and manage it pretty well. A lot of people manage it really, really well.
Yeah. Did you want to share a couple? I've got a few more. Did
you got a few more?
A few more?
Yeah, I got there are a lot. I think a lot of people are jumping into your chat, which is cool. We got we had one of the wins. Just scroll through now. Oh, okay. So Kiwi Will had an ankle reconstruction in June and was not able to walk for 2 months. Put on 30 kegs and feel absolutely terrible. But his win is that he's signed up to a gym and he's going to do something about your weight gains since you're now able to walk and exercise. So that's perfect.
Amazing.
Yeah, the mindset is the win there. That's awesome. That's awesome. I think there was a loss there. I think we had was it Newton or the vent fell off their mountain bike. So that was a bit of a loss. Yeah, the vent lost at a crash on the mountain bike.
Is the bike okay?
You picked yourself up. That's all good. I think there was one a little bit earlier that I've missed as well. No.
I've got a couple. We got Rach James. Loss is spiraling down into politics. Has not been great. The win, though, is seeing how the last 2 weeks of fitness has helped my tennis this week and being shocked about it in a good way. That's awesome, man.
Nice.
So good.
Nice.
Hungarian decided not to come out of this second lockdown bigger and unhealthier than I did. The first lockdown, it just ticked over 4 weeks. No alcohol and back running. Nice.
Awesome.
Good job.
That's so good.
That's pretty great because being home with a cabinet of alcohol can be a little tempting.
Yeah,
sure.
Doing home things. I know people like working from home and whatnot as well, but it's full of distractions. It's full of calories. It's lots of things on there.
Yeah. Brookenstein, my win has been writing again. I got a lot of poetry down from my losses and taking it each day as it comes. That's great.
Awesome.
Judas, getting back into the gym after being afraid of it for the last month has been my win after I had a disc issue. Yes. So many wins around fitness. Like I know...
Fitness, yeah.
I sometimes like to say it, but I think we actually do have like one of the fittest communities on the platform.
For sure.
So good. I love it. Everyone's into it.
Yeah, it's good we can celebrate that. So I mean, like B-Foot, I don't think you specifically wrote it, but B-Foot is back in the gym, so I think that's one of his wins. He's back on the program. And the Moist Duck is starting one next week. That's given I have enough time to finish that one off. We've got Moist Duck and Darth. You're going to be doing the same one because you're going to be monster golfers.
Yes.
So I'm having fun. I'm having fun doing the research for your program, guys. It's it's really cool.
Bernabé. Oh, sorry.
The bike was fine. So the vent was just saying the bike was fine.
Oh, cool. Good to know. Bernabé started seeing a new exercise physiologist this week, and we got on super well. Pretty hyped about that. Bad news is I really hate the pain of muscle release. Yeah, it sucks.
It's one of those nice pains, the muscle release.
Gero, loss of the week. Diet has been a bit shit. Put on a few kilos. Win, though, is getting after it. Got a great crew that are willing to cover for me so I can get in a walk or a workout while I'm at work. That's awesome.
I like that a lot of workplaces are adopting, or that they're just realizing how much a healthy body actually produces more, what's the word? Just more active workers and more efficient workers.
Yeah, for sure. Oz Buffanatic dropped a total of 6 kilograms doing intermittent fasting over the last 10 weeks. Dropped a kilo this week. Interesting topic there. Do you want to talk about?
Yeah. So I think intermittent fasting is really good.
It's a bit trendy at the moment.
It's very trendy. It's trendy just like paleo used to be trendy, like the Atkins diet used to be trendy, etc., etc. It should not be thought of as a means to lose weight.
Yeah.
There's a correlation and there's a causation for everything that happens. And what's happening with IF at the moment is that people are jumping onto IF and they're saying, wow, it's because of IF that I'm losing weight. We kind of have to realize that it's not the IF that's causing you to lose weight. It's the actual total caloric intake. In IF, it is actually easier to eat less calories because you're obviously
restricting
consuming your window. Correct. So you're restricting how long you're actually eating for, so you're not snacking in other times. But it is, and I'm proof of this, that I spent a good 6 months in IF, but also bulking. So I put on about 6 kilos worth of mass. Whilst in IF. So if I were to say, oh look, it's because of IF that I put weight on, not really. It's the extra
same for me. When
eating.
we were training for World Champs, I was also intermittent fasting, and that's the bulk of me putting weight on.
Yeah.
During
so the positives of IF are that they kick your hormones back into gear, into a more healthy routine, because humans as a species, we rely upon what they call circadian rhythms. And by eating in a constant window every day, we're going to sleep better. Our recovery hormones are going to work better. All sorts of little body processes are going to work better. So IF is really, really good. But just be careful to not have that as the causality behind any weight loss or weight gain. It's slightly different reasoning behind that. Yeah,
weight loss basically comes down to calories in versus calories out. I know a lot of people like to try and dispute that, but it's thermodynamics. You can't beat science.
Yeah. Like your body will change, and it will take a certain number of calories from different things depending on what it's currently conditioned to work with.
Yeah.
But it's still just a numbers game. It's still just a numbers game. Yeah.
And there will be different things like who was it? They were saying something about. I can't remember. There's someone in FFP last week that was talking about something they'd changed in their diet. And I think it was something about gluten or something. And they were saying how they felt like they'd lost a lot of weight, but it was probably due to the fact that they weren't bloated anymore. Because when you feel super bloated, or if you've eaten a lot of legumes or something that make you gassy and your stomach just feels like big and bloated, you're probably not going to feel good.
And water retention is huge as well. Yeah. The more carbs that you eat, the more creatine that you ingest as well. So meat has a slight effect on that. Your body will actually need more water to hold certain chemicals like
bloody chickpeas.
So yeah.
Mad about chickpeas.
Yeah, Kiwi will. We might actually save that for the fitness Q&A. Just asking what's the best way to lose weight in the gym. So we'll jump into that yeah.
Cool. I've got a couple more wins. I think my win for this week is starting the Are You OK conversation and seeing that fan out across the Discord. I think it was great for everyone to share the burden with each other, and I hope to keep those conversations going. Definitely.
Awesome.
I'll be honest, it was the day that I took off, and it did make me feel a bit guilty, and it made me kind of a little bit bummed to see everybody. I know that everyone's having a hard time in lockdown, but I think it being voiced out in such a specific way, I was like, man, maybe I should have streamed today to try and help people deal with it or distract themselves. And it kind of not to say like don't share, because I'm taking it on board, but like, yeah, it bummed me out, man, seeing everybody so vulnerable, I guess. There's a lot of emotions.
You also need to make sure that, I suppose, when you're on the plane as well, the first rule of the oxygen mask is you put yours on first before. So it's not to say that you're actually not helping by taking the day off. Potentially by having this ready for today now, you're helping so many more people than what you would have if today wasn't ready, if you know what I mean.
True.
Yeah.
I guess.
Oh,
I guess. So I think that's a good. Did you have any more to share?
No, I think a lot of people were that covers a lot of it. Yeah. I apologize if I did miss yours. You know how I am with chat, so we're good.
Cool. All right, so that's the wins and losses. So we're gonna do that every week. So feel free to share or just listen to everybody else's for the week. So we're gonna move on to our next segment, which is the gaming news. News. So it's been a big week for gaming. We're gonna talk about three main things. The Xbox announcements, the Nintendo Mario announcements, and also the RTX stuff.
Yeah. What are you most excited out of those three? What's the most exciting piece for you?
Would you be mad if I said none of them? No, I mean, none of them are super relevant for me, because I mean the Xbox, it's probably the least used console that I have. Yep. My allegiance is, I mean, I've got both consoles, but I probably use my PlayStation more just because the exclusives for me are better on the PlayStation. Like this year, we've had... these days?
Yeah, I mean, this ties into it, and it's interesting because we spoke earlier about me being of a slightly different gamer generation.
Yeah.
I read in your chat or in your Discord somewhere, there's this stereotypical type of person that uses the PlayStation or the Xbox. You'd say yourself you're more a PlayStation person than an Xbox person? Is that true?
Yeah, I mean PC. So,
if we were to ignore PC and we were looking at the console wars. Yeah. And because I think I read somewhere that they were saying that you know the kids like the Xbox these days, or you know the boomers like the PlayStation, etc. Is there a generational gap there, or how is what's the landscape look like with consoles at the moment? What type of people?
I don't know. That's something I think chat you guys can probably lead there, because I don't really buy into that, I suppose. Like for me, I'm also a very different consumer because I'm a content creator. So for me, my main focus is making sure that I cover all bases and I have access to all the exclusives if I want to end up streaming them. So I have a Switch so I can play Pokemon. I have a PlayStation 5 so I could play 4, sorry. So I could play Last of Us. I have an Xbox so I could play Red Dead because it had the exclusive content for that. So for me, the new consoles coming out, I have a pretty close relationship with PlayStation, so I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I was being sent a PlayStation when that comes out. And Xbox, maybe not so much. I mean, Xbox Australia did send me the one that I have. I've got I don't even know anymore what they are. They're Xbox One X, S, whatever. I've got one here, and I've got a PlayStation 4 from PlayStation. So for me, I'm a very different consumer, and I don't think I speak for the majority, so I feel like my opinion is not super relevant to everybody.
and see, look, I've even been I forgot about Nintendo altogether.
Yeah.
Nintendo's out there as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, I I didn't mention this earlier. My background, I also used to work for EB Games for a many number of years. When I was a manager there, Nintendo just made their comeback. So Nintendo had kind of disappeared for a long time, and then with the Wii
and the Wii U were a bit like, eh.
So the Wii actually brought a whole new type of customer in, which we all needed training for.
Yeah.
It was the mum and dad, the casual, where they were buying something for their kids, but they realized they wanted to play it themselves. So that was a whole new type of customer. And all of the
shoulder injuries from playing Wii, tennis, and golf.
The breaking televisions, yeah.
Please make sure you're wearing your wrist strap.
So the reason I ask is that these days, what I've noticed is that I think PlayStation is probably the the biggest console. Whereas in my day, Xbox was the one.
The thing I think with Xbox though is they've kind of, I mean, it's not shooting themselves in the foot because ultimately they're making their games more accessible, but a lot of the Xbox stuff being Microsoft is available on PC. So for somebody like me that has a giant PC that's capable of running everything on Ultra, I don't need an Xbox. Like, I don't really need it anymore. Whereas, you know, a few years ago, I was Xbox through and through. The Xbox 360, I've probably used more than any console that I've ever owned. And I bought the Xbox One on launch, and I was pretty disappointed by it. I didn't like the interface. I didn't think the selection of games for it on launch was very good, so I ended up buying a PlayStation 4. And then from there, my loyalty, I guess, kind of shifted to the PlayStation community because I found the exclusives were a lot better, and I really liked the interface. It was really simple. The community functions and stuff were quite good for PlayStation as well. And I mean, PlayStation Australia have been really good to me too, with the PSVR coming out for it as well, that opened up a whole new type of content.
Yep.
It just, for me, it's changed a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes with this next
Beefwood has
generation.
a really good point too, in that a lot of people like to play in their lounge room,
Totally.
as opposed to which is a bit of my gripe with gaming at the moment, online gaming, in that a lot of games are being made to play online only. There's no more couch co-op for those things. So I come from the split screen time when you'd have a piece of cardboard in the middle of the TV.
Stop screen cheating!
Don't look at me. So yeah. It was just a random question there, which I thought would have some interesting answers.
Yeah, Gavin made a good point. Nintendo and PlayStation has always kind of seemed more of like a fun console, whereas Xbox always seemed a little more competitive, like with Halo and Call of Duty was always Xbox focused until they partnered with PlayStation and started doing the content a month in advance. So from, I think it was, I want to say Black Ops 4, maybe the one before that, they started doing exclusivity deals with PlayStation, and then you saw the console audience kind of shift to PlayStation, which was interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So what's the news? What's happening?
So the Xbox has prices now. So apparently the Xbox, Xbox Series S. I feel bad for anyone who works at EB Games or any gaming store that's going to have to explain to boomers what the difference is between an Xbox One X and an Xbox One S and an Xbox Series X and an Xbox Series S, and oh my god.
Yeah.
So the X and the S got prices. The link that you gave me doesn't have it on there.
Oh, so
that's alright, it's in the gaming one. So Australia, I saw a lot of people kind of up in arms about the pricing, and I wanted to talk about that as well. So the Xbox Series S apparently wasn't supposed to be announced yet, but there was a leak, and I think Xbox handled it pretty well, that they just were like, hey, it's kind of like when you see, people get blackmailed to be like, hey, I'm going to share your nudes, and they're like, you know what, I'm going to post it anyway, so you can't blackmail me. So it's kind of like that. So Xbox tweeted out 2 days ago at 10:30 p.m. our time. The Xbox Series X is $499 USD. It's coming out on the 10th of November, and pre-orders start on September 22nd. And the Series S is $299 USD. So in Australia, the Xbox Series S, $499 USD, $749 AUD. And a lot of people were like, can't you do math? That's not exactly the conversion of USD to AUD. Do you want to explain why that is?
So there's lots of things that go into prices in different regions. So in the US, depending on which state you're in, there's also sales tax. So if you were to rock up to a GameStop over there in the States and go, oh, here's my $4.99 USD, they'll be like, well,
and then,
and then. So
Yeah.
there's that. When goods are imported into Australia, you've also got the GST, so the goods and services tax. And then there's also different duties as well as that. So there's all sorts of little things on there. And then you've got things like the actual paying of retailers. So a retailer isn't just going to sit in the middle and pass something on for no dollars. We got mouths to feed. We got people to pay. So there's all that stuff included as well.
but it comes with a free Froget. And the Xbox Series S is $299 USD, which is $499 AUD.
Yeah.
So the S is significantly smaller, not slightly, significantly smaller.
Slightly.
And it's digital only, so I think it has a 512 SSD, and it's interesting because, I mean, Call of Duty, the latest Call of Duty is 140 gigabytes or something.
Oof.
So I don't know who that one's really for. Like, being digital only, obviously every download is going to be hard drive.
Is it expandable?
Space.
Like, can you pop another drive into it?
I would assume you could plug in an external drive.
Yeah, I'd hope so. Because that's like the first MP3 player I ever owned was called the Rio P MP3, and it had 18 meg storage. So I could hold, what, 4 songs?
3 songs on it.
yeah, exactly. So that's what that's. And to me, I would have assumed, like, this is just me coming from the tech side as opposed to the marketing side.
Yeah.
If we're going to make a digital only console, I would have put the bigger hard drive into that as opposed to the larger one. But that's just me.
There is a proprietary expansion drive, but it also supports USB 3.2 external drives too.
That's cool. Okay, sweet.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's a hell of a lot cheaper. It's also white, which looks really nice.
Yeah.
I think games are probably going to start moving towards being diskless as well. Like, as PC players, when you buy a hard copy of a game, like a collector's edition or whatever, you don't get a disc, you get a code inside a case. Because no one has a CD drive on their PC anymore. This doesn't have a CD drive on it. And I think that's also, the PlayStation has that as an option. The big PlayStation, there's 2 options. There's the disc drive or no disc drive.
I think one of the most liberating things I've done in the past couple of years was to actually get rid of all of my DVDs and game discs and just every physical thing of that type that I own, because it's all hosted on the cloud somewhere now.
Yeah, and that's the most annoying thing ever. When you go to load up a game, you're like, oh, I find the disc, and then you open a case and you're like, why is Call of Duty in the Destiny case? Why is Destiny in this case? Freak, where the heck is it? Yes, I'm that person, and I hate myself every time that happens. It's the worst.
Sorry, Mikey.
I hate it so much. So yeah, that's basically, so we haven't seen solid prices come out yet from PlayStation. PlayStation have not announced what the PS5 is going to cost, unless they've posted it today and I haven't seen it. So I was interested to see. For a long time it felt like they were both playing chicken and just like waiting for one of them to post so that they could come back with, you know, something that is $20 to $30 cheaper, $50 cheaper, whatever, or maybe exactly the same price. Only time will tell. Maybe next week when we do the show again, we will see the announcement from PlayStation and see what their prices are. I know, GTA, I know it's bad. He said, I'm so organized, you can't be that person. I am that person. I don't want my disc to get scratched and I can't always find the case. Either that or the disc gets ruined. I have no faith that Sony can develop a controller that feels better than the Xbox. Spend the entirety of Last of Us 2 wishing I could use my Xbox controller. Interesting.
Does the Astro C, now is it C60?
C40.
C40? Does that work on both consoles, or is that
PlayStation?
That's a PlayStation. But so the PlayStation, but you can actually move the thumbstick into the Xbox position, can't you? Yeah, so that might be a solution for you.
Mr. Plow said, this year is the first time I'm considering upgrading my PC rather than getting the new console, especially with some of the games going cross-platform as well. I think the PlayStation's going to be $498. It's $1 cheaper.
$1.
Maybe. So, I mean, on the topic of
PC?
Console gaming, I guess we could go either way.
We'll go your way.
So Nintendo announced, and I really want to get chat's take on this because I don't know how I feel about it. So 3 Mario Adventures is the tweet, September 3rd. 3 Mario Adventures in one collection jump onto Nintendo Switch with HD visuals. Take Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy on the go in Super Mario 3D All-Stars, arriving on the 18th of September, which is in 7 days. But it's only a limited release until the end of March 2021. Why? Do you think they'll do... So I'm assuming this is only going to be a digital game because obviously distribution during a global pandemic is a little difficult. Do you think they're doing a limited release until March and then they're going to be like, hey, April, we're going to do a freaking double dip and we're going to do a physical copy? Like, why be a limited release? Why not just let people keep it?
from an industry perspective, what does a limited release do for sales?
I mean, it's not in the interest of the consumer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
physical
I mean, that's
copies until March.
Oh, okay. So physical copies
so
until March.
You can continue to play it. It's not like they just pull it off the stores.
Ah, okay. It's
both. Okay.
Roger.
So you get to keep it. So you just have, as long as you buy it in that period, then you get to keep playing it. Right. I misinterpreted.
Will there be digital downloads as well after that?
After that, probably not.
Maybe.
Stop hitting him. He's already dead. Nintendo Mario. Okay, so you can buy it and keep it as long as you buy it in that period.
Okay. So from the industry standpoint, they're saving money because they're not going to produce physical ones after that, and it's just going to be digital only. Right.
Yeah, right.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. So
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think I misread the outrage.
Well, it's easy. A lot of the outrage is usually misinformed anyway. So, but yeah, this harps back to something I mentioned, is that old things are becoming new again, and the mechanics that Mario showed is I mean, it's jump, run, jump, avoid things, and we can see from even streamers these days that people just love watching that, love playing that. It's interesting to me that it's just so addictive. These really simple mechanics and simple graphics and things like that. So would you play them?
The thing, yeah. I mean, yeah, of course. But so the post from it's Washington Post. Wait, what? If you're confused, you're not alone. Video game critics and fans took to Twitter following the announcement, clearly baffled by the strange restrictions. The limited availability gimmick is extending to Super Mario Bros. 35 too, which turns the classic Super Mario Bros. Into a battle royale, as well as to certain tie-in events running through to March 2021. The language used by Nintendo hasn't made things much clearer. A news release from the company stated that, quote, Super Mario 3D All-Stars will be delisted from the shop on approximately March 31st, 2021, is only playable from October 1st to the end of March. So you can't play it after that.
Oh. Wow.
Weird.
That's
From
weird.
a branding standpoint, these releases are meant to be a celebration of the Super Mario Bros. 35th anniversary, but it's mind-boggling to have them released for a few months, only to be taken down from the Nintendo eShop and removed from retail stores at a later date.
Potentially some sort of a rotation, maybe, but yeah. I mean, there is a sales technique called, just like the limited availability, which is another one of my past lives.
Giving people a taste.
Yeah, well, it's also like,
yeah,
it's only limited time. Like, I've only got 3 of these left. Do you want to buy 2 of them now? Kind of thing. It's yeah. Wow.
Forced perceived rarity. Doesn't Disney do this?
Yeah.
I don't
Disney also
engage with a lot of Disney stuff, to be honest.
The smell of donuts into their parks as well.
Wait, really?
Yeah, they've got little fans around.
Where can I buy the smell? I want it in my house.
Yep. I think it's popcorn actually. They do food smells and they just blow them around so people get hungry and buy food.
I can smell people claiming consumer rights once the period ends. Yeah.
Oof.
So
like
weird.
I owned this for 3 minutes and then it got shut down. Ugh.
Yeah, so the Battle Royale isn't doing physical copies. The All-Stars is different. It is very confusing. They've kind of... I mean, maybe they've just wanted to be in the media, so they're like, let's put something out that's super contradictory so that people converse about it and then we get our trending. And we can tick that off our marketing budget for the month.
Yeah. That sounds about right. Fair enough.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, personally, like, I'm not a huge Nintendo fan. Like, I obviously... as a gamer my entire life, I started on the Nintendo NES playing Duck Hunt and Super Mario and all the oldies, but I haven't really, like, my Switch is definitely my least used console. I think the last thing I played was Pokemon, but I haven't really played any of the newer Marios. The only one that I've actually really liked and played to completion is the Mario and Rabbids Kingdom, whatever that was called. That was freaking awesome.
That's really good.
So good.
The Hat and Dinosaur one was the last adventure one that I played.
Yeah, I think I played about 20 minutes and I was like,
until you reach the dinosaur, and that's
like, I'm a dinosaur. Okay, I'm bored now. Yeah, I mean, I like to have it. For me, like I said before, like for me, having the console there in case something does come up that I think would be fun for stream is like my gaming interest.
Yep.
It's definitely just like a bit of a dust collector though.
Fair enough.
And I remember when I first got my Switch, I was like, oh cool, no, it was my Switch. Might have been the Nintendo 3DS actually, that I took to one of my international trips. I bought like the NES collection thinking that I'd be able to go through and play all the old games in completion,
like
but it was like,
yeah.
and it was like one level from the game. It was just like a snippet. I'm like, okay, cool,
No
cool
way.
collection. Like, glad I went. And it cost like $90 or something, like ridiculous. Wow. I was pretty mad. Pretty
Nintendo.
mad. Damn you, Nintendo. Damn it.
Sweet. So I suppose from there, the last piece of the 3 bits of news that we had for the gaming stuff was the
NVIDIA.
This will be
NVIDIA. That was the start on Bioshock.
Oh god. So most people here are going to be watching on PCs. Most people here, it'll be safe to assume, are PC gamers. So the news of the 30 series, Grace. Mm-hmm. Having worked closely with NVIDIA, exciting
Vance
stuff.
is getting one next week. Woo!
Woo, 3080. Yeah, nice. So the models that were announced, there's the 3070, the 3080, and the 3090.
It's huge.
So for a long time,
big.
yeah, I see, this is something that I feel like I should explain, because for a long time I didn't understand how this worked as well. And this is the NVIDIA numbering system. So the numbering system, if you don't know, if you break down the cards, I started off getting into them in like the 960 era. So the last 2 digits is the model, and the first bunch of digits is the generation. So you've got like the 980, which is then superseded by the 1080, which is then went to the 2080, and now we've got the 3080. And then within the generation, you've got the 70, the 80, and the 90, each one being better the higher the number is. So as we'd expect, the 3070 is the lower end, and the 3090 is the gargantuan Titan beast card.
So big.
It is massive for those that haven't seen it. The price points of them. Do you remember what those were? I didn't know. I was meant to find that one. Jeff. I was so rushed this morning. I had so much hair to do.
So we've got the 30 series available on September 17th. Mm-hmm. Where's our prices? I don't think they're... Oh, here we go. So the 3070 is starting at 809 AUD. Mm-hmm. The 3080 is starting at 1,139, and the 3090 is starting at $2,429.
Which is the price of a lot of just gaming PCs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I suppose the RTX it took the world by storm 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. Where we now get ray tracing technology, which is the stuff that they use in film and video, the film industry, rendering a whole bunch of things. It's now done in real time using the RTX stuff. So the RTX, the 20 cards, that's where we saw it done in 1080. But what a lot of people don't understand, it was actually like a 500 pixel image that was then using the DLSS to upscale to the big image. Now the 30s are so much closer to actually doing it at the full 1080 that you can upscale to a 4K. So it's big news. So chat, what do you think? You think it's worth the upgrade? Who's going to be upgrading?
I've seen a lot, like so many people coming to my chat asking if I'm going to upgrade, and I don't know if they actually think I'm going to upgrade or they're just trying to make conversation, but obviously with two 2080 Ti's, I don't need to. Also, the 3090 wouldn't fit in this. Having said that, the 3080, I think, was equivalent of more than two 2080s, performance-wise.
Yeah. So having the two 2080s, there's a whole bunch of extra advantages to that too. You've actually got double the amount of VRAM, which helps a lot for what you do, Grace, where you've got one machine handling all of the textures for the gaming, plus all of your overlays, plus all the little videos that sit in there ready for OBS to load up. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. So you probably wouldn't need to at this point.
No, I think if you were still on the 10 series, like if you had a 1070 or a 1080 or even a 1060, like this is the perfect time to, I mean, not necessarily upgrade to a 30 series, find a 20 series, like find a 2080 that's on the cheap, because as soon as the new one drops, people are going to be selling their old cards, and the old cards are going to go down in price because they're no longer the laytest.
Absolutely. I got a lot of people in my chat here saying, yeah, they're on 10 series. So yeah, upping to like a 3070. The 3070s just have so much more grunt than like a 1070 or a 2070. There's huge amounts. You're gonna run into a lot of CPU bottlenecks now too, because the i9s have been out for a little bit. And then also SSDs and memory becomes a lot slower. So yeah, we're just sort of changing the levels of what's getting faster, and then there are going to be other components that slow things down now.
Yeah, AMD are announcing their new CPUs and GPUs in October as well.
Yeah.
So we'll start to see other companies coming out with their latest and greatest as well.
Yeah. Fair. So I think that's a lot of the big gaming news things this week. Anything else come to mind?
But there'll be a 40 series soon, and if I wait, I will have more power. I mean, this is the first time that we've had graphics cards coming out during a global pandemic too. So who the hell knows what availability is going to be like? And I've seen a lot of people who are kind of annoyed about it, but the Founders Editions aren't available in Australia. The Founders Editions, from a technical standpoint, no different.
Yeah, they're
the same performance, they're just pretty. And
like usually on the Founders Editions, the cooling isn't as good as what the other cards are. And yeah, there are often little tweaks done. Like they're open for unclocking more, overclocking, unlocked for overclocking on their newer cards. So yeah, the other thing as well is stock availability for the last round of big cards that came out was severely nerfed by the trend of crypto mining. Which has really dissipated right now. So I think if they were to have the same sort of stock output as they had back then, now I think stock will be okay for the most part.
Yeah. Joe can chuck it on a boat if everyone wants it. Chuck it on a boat. Cool. So I think that's most things in gaming news. If you guys have any gaming questions while we're on the topic before we move on to our picks of the week, chuck it in the chat. None of the board partners start at the NVIDIA Founders Edition ROP price. I think that's what annoys Aussies more so.
It's the same argument as why are we paying not the US price? Because there's so many middlemen. It's a manufacturer has like the price they have to pay, and then they've got all their engineers to pay, and architects and factory workers and whatnot too. So it's basically in their hands, and it's a supply and demand thing. If you want it, you're gonna pay it, and they know this. Yeah,
exactly. They don't. If people are gonna buy it. Pardo Daniel asks a general question: how much would you need to spend on your first gaming PC? It's a bit of a broad question. What's your budget? Like, what are you willing to spend? I think is probably the first thing I would ask you. And also, what type of games are you wanting to play? If you're wanting to play, Cyberpunk, The Witcher, what was the test? Crisis.
Crisis, yeah.
Depending on what you want to play and the amount that you're willing to spend, I think that's probably an easier way. I mean, the first PC that I ever spent money on was the first PC that I started creating content from, was just something that I built through PC Case Gear, and I think I spent like $2,000 on that. And it was the case was unnecessarily big.
I was going to say, if we're shouting back to our first PCs that we built, so before PC Case Gear was around, there was a guy in my local area called UltraGo, which we all dubbed Ultra Slow because he never came on time. But he was the components guy, so you could say, hey, this is what I want, put me these things together. He'd rock up at your house, he'd take cash, and he'd have a box ready to go. And I spent $7,500 on a
$7,000?
Yep. It was a Pentium 3. It was the first 1 gigahertz processor that anyone on my street ever owned.
You asked every person in the street.
Yep. Everyone was like coming over and, whoa, it's 1 gigahertz, whoa. And it had an 8 gig hard drive, and it was a beast. Yep, you had one of the old Voodoo graphics
8
cards
whole
as well.
gigs. Oh,
8
Voodoo.
whole gig.
Nice.
Yeah, Voodoo graphics card.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was super expensive, and it's the whole thing. You know, if I hold off, I'll get something more powerful. Yeah, but you won't get the street cred for having something now.
What was $7,000 back in 1961?
In 1960. That's all that was going. Yeah.
Your budget is 3,500. Is that USD or AUD?
That's not bad these days. 3,500. Yeah, you can get.
You can get a whole lot of machine for that. Cool. All right, so that's the gaming weekly wrap up. If you guys have any more gaming news that you'd like to share, jump into my Discord. We have a whole gaming tab there where we can talk more about that. That goes for everything. We have a lot of cool tabs in there, especially if you guys are subs. You can jump in there and we can continue the conversation. We might have to start off a pipe up tab where we can
we might have to, yeah. And I was going to say it's probably more appropriate in your Discord as well, because FFP is going to be a lot of fitness type stuff.
Yeah.
So if you're on my chat, I've just posted a link there to Grace, so you can jump in and check her stuff out.
Cool. All right, let's move on to the pipe up picks of the week.
Picks of the week.
So this is where we share what we've been watching, what we've been... Oh, I should have done music. What we've been listening to. I can talk about what we've been listening to.
I can talk about what I've been listening to. Absolutely.
Watching in terms of TV, movies, books, audiobooks, podcasts, etc. Do you want to kick it off with your podcast?
Yeah. So something that I'm not too shy about touting is that I do listen to a lot of podcasts when I commute and when I've got some downtime or whatnot. And it came up in was it? Yeah, I think it was my stream earlier this morning. Tim Ferriss. So Tim Ferriss, for those that don't know, is the author of the 4-Hour Workweek. That was his first New York Times best-selling book. It was then followed up by the 4-Hour Body. And Tim Ferriss is kind of the master of body hacking, efficiency. He's spoken to leaders in their field. So he's got about 300 or so podcasts now where he speaks to leaders in their field to figure out what makes them tick, what sort of special sauce they add to their lives that we can take and add to our lives to get that little bit of 5% extra out of our day. And for me, on top of that, I also like literary things. I like reading books. I like watching movies. And he did an interview with my probably second favorite author of all time, Chuck Palahniuk, who is the author of Fight Club. So,
oh, nice.
Yep. So my number one favorite movie, and a lot of people of my generation as well, Fight Club was seminal in our growth and development. And Chuck Palahniuk went on to talk about dangerous writing, which is very, very interesting. And also just some of the themes behind things like Fight Club and Choke. So I do have a link, which I'm going to chuck into my chat. I forgot the first rule. Just don't talk about
rule number one. Go ahead.
Don't talk about it. So here's a link. I'm going to copy this one now. Whoops. No, not the message link, just the actual link. And pasting that in. So you can see that on his podcast, and those tattoos on his face are fake, by the way. If
really? I saw the trailer of the thing, and I was like, "What the heck?"
No, so he actually did a stand up recently about how he hates the fact that publishers want to put a photo of the author onto a book,
right?
Because it's that whole sort of, don't judge a book by its cover. Well, when people look at that photo, they're going to judge the type of book it is. So he wanted to basically just appear like some sort of neo-Nazi slash tattooed thug in one of his photos, which he isn't. So if you don't know Chuck Palahniuk, Fight Club is his most famous, but his I suppose one of the other things that is really, really famous for is a short story called Guts, where he was actually trying his hardest to make any subscribers to the publication that this was published in actually unsubscribe. And he had people in a live reading of this actually faint. So he's had many people faint during the telling of this short story.
Wow.
It wasn't because it was disgusting. It is a disgusting story, but it was actually because he had some doctors actually go and confirm this. It was from the hyperventilation that happens from laughing so much and then having like a turn in the story. So you've gone from absolutely hysterical laughing to absolutely disgusted. and the blood kind of rushes from your head and you faint. And yeah, it's really, really interesting. So, yeah, so this guy is probably, yeah, again, one of my favorite authors of all time, interviewed by one of my favorite interviewers. And it's a really,
the world's
really
just
good
colliding.
Colliding, absolutely. So I was super pumped this week to listen to it.
That's
and
awesome.
Yeah, it's really, really cool.
Well, you're recovering from being struck in the head by an evil bird.
Pretty much. So, yeah.
Oh, sorry about clearing my throat so much.
That's okay. That's all good.
Cool. So that's the podcast from Jeff. I'm going to talk about a series. I'm going to head over to my other screen as well so you guys can watch. I'm just going to have the trailer muted while I talk about it. Jump over to this one. So for me, my pick of the week, I have not yet watched it.
Nice.
Do you want to talk about the film?
So there's a film. We're gonna start to do the Who here remembers Dave and Margaret on SBS? That did film reviews. This is us. We're gonna start doing
Muppets? The two angry Muppets.
No. They were real people. And they sat there, and often David and Margaret would have completely different views on a movie, and it would be hilarious to watch them, and that was the meme of the time. So this week, Grace and I are going to be talking about... I've got the trailer playing on my... You got the trailer? Okay, yeah. So go on the squad stream, go and check out. She's playing on hers. It is the Blum... Is it Blumhouse or Blumhouse?
I think it's Blumhouse. I'm not sure.
Yep. So the Blumhouse rendition of Fantasy Island.
And just for reference, they've done a lot of great films. They made Get Out.
Oh.
They made Paranormal Activity. So there was a couple others in there that were pretty iconic. So I remember seeing this trailer come out pre-COVID, and I was like, sick. Yes, next horror movie that I'm going to go see in the cinema, because I have a bit of ritual with my friends that when horror movies come out, we have to go to the cinema to see them so that we actually like surround sound, big screens, like loud noises. And this was on the list, and then COVID struck and things weren't coming out in the cinemas, so it's been pushed straight out to Google Play.
Yeah, so I was going to say it's probably worth going into this conversation or watching the film not taking into account the other films that Blumhouse has actually produced.
Yeah.
Because it is a little bit unfair, I think, when you're taking things like Get Out.
One of the most iconic like films in the last few
amazing.
years. Like, yeah.
And then taking it into something completely new, which if we were to sit and treat this like for me, I didn't actually realize that those other ones were Blumhouse films. I kind of went into this fresh. Now I wasn't 100% fresh because I do remember some of the old Fantasy Islands. So generation now will probably see this as its own standalone thing and go, oh, okay, it's a funny island and things happen.
I didn't know it was old remake.
Yeah, so there was an old one, and so the old premise was that there was this island with a little person and a kind of shady guy in a white suit, and people would land there, and the island would actually grant your wishes, and it was relatively light-hearted, and a lot of the lessons taught by the island were pretty like, oh look, this is what I wished for and this is what I got, which was kind of what I wished for, but it wasn't really, and smiles and happy and fly back home kind of thing. Whereas what they did with this, actually I should probably try and bring up the trailer as well. Yeah, if you're in my chat, just jump over to the squad stream. I've got a link there, squad, and you can see the trailer playing in the background of Grace's. It's a little bit more menacing. So this is the modern day horror film, where Fantasy Island, I suppose I'm going to be very careful to try and not spoil anything. But
the premise of like the newer one is some people's fantasies are kind of dark and they're not like what you would expect. Fantasies don't always go the way that you would intend.
Yeah.
No spoilers.
Yeah. Correct. And yeah, what you wish
they also
for,
produced Halloween, the remake.
Halloween remake. Yeah, okay.
Which was
I didn't
pretty
mind
good.
that. Yeah, that was cool. So what are your thoughts on I suppose the movie itself, Grace, and having not known what the old Fantasy Island was all about?
So I see Ali in the chat going, oh my god, I'm terrified, it looks so scary. And I thought the same. When I first saw this trailer, I was like, oh my god, yes, this looks intense. I'm gonna be on the edge of my seat. There's gonna be like spooky moments. It wasn't scary. Like my tolerance for scares are probably a little higher than the average person because I play like the most effed up horror games out there. Having said that, there are a lot of flaws in this movie that kind of, it felt like they were on the cusp of being campy, but they didn't go all the way there. So it just kind of came across a bit awkward. A little bit. There were bits where I was like, the one thing that I noticed the most, and G also pointed it out, there are a lot of lighting faux pas. So there'd be a scene behind someone and they've got like the sun beaming on their hair, and then you flick to the other person that they're talking to and it's like a completely different time of day. And those type of things just really disconnect you from the immersion of the movie, because you're like, oh, this is distracting me because this isn't how the lighting should be. And then, you know, they come back into the scene 2 hours later when it's nighttime, and then you flick to the other person, it's like broad daylight outside. It's like, what? Stop it. Yeah. The acting, some were stronger than others. One of the guys in particular was a little bit like, he was really trying to act, which kind of also broke that immersion. Yeah, I don't know. For me personally, like if I was to do an overview of the film, I didn't want to turn it off. I was somewhat invested in seeing how it ended, because I wanted to see, there are a few twists and turns throughout the film, and I was like, I want to see what happens, but I wasn't like on the edge of my seat. I wasn't overly scared. A lot of points I was kind of like, oh, that was bad.
Yeah, I think the same with me, in that if there was a point in any film that I want to turn it off, that's kind of like a half mark for me.
Yeah.
This one, I didn't really want to switch it off. I kind of wanted to see how everything played out.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, whoa.
Yeah.
It wasn't really drawing me in. I was happy to get up and grab a glass of water and skip a few sentences of dialogue and then sit back down again, and yeah.
And I think they've kind of did themselves an injustice with the trailer, because they made it look so intense. They made it like Ali, like this trailer is making you uncomfortable. Honestly, these are the worst parts in the entire movie. Like they make it look so edge of your seat, so crazy. And yeah, there's just a lot of moments where there's a big disconnect. So I wouldn't say it's like you have to go turn off the stream and go watch it right now because it's so good. I wouldn't say it's not worth watching. It's kind of like, there hasn't been a lot coming out, so it's kind of like, I wouldn't rewatch it, but I'm not unhappy that I watched it.
Yeah,
I'd give it like if we're talking like, out of 5 peaches, how many would you give it? I'd probably give it like a 3.5.
Yeah, I'd be about
like a 3 probably.
I was gonna say I'd be a
3.
3. I wouldn't be a 2. Two's something that I don't finish watching.
How many pipes out of 5? How many Mario pipes?
I'd be saying probably a 3. A 3, which means I watched it. I enjoyed parts of it. Like you said, some of the acting was a bit cringeworthy. Some
were really strong, like this girl on the screen right now. This woman, she nailed it. She was great.
Yep.
She was probably the strongest actor in the whole bunch, I would say. And her timeline was pretty. It seemed like she was having some nice fantasies, and then it gets pretty dark.
Yeah. The acting, I think, let it down a little bit. The lighting definitely let it down. It's just those little things that you notice at the start that carry through, and you can't really get them out of your head. That they're kind of like, you know what? It's just not changing, and it's just there.
She's 41. Wait, that's Maggie. She's Maggie Q. Wait.
Oh wow.
Is it Maggie Q, the one you were talking about? In the. Oh no! Wait. That's never mind. I just got confused by chat.
Okay.
So she's Maggie Q. Gotcha. Trailers, yeah, that's why a lot of time, Pardo Daniel, I don't watch trailers. Like when game trailers come out and gameplay show-offs and stuff like that, a lot of the time I'll try and avoid it, because I feel like they show so much. Like I know they want to try and sell their product and they want to show like the best bits, but I think sometimes it's an injustice because they show the only good bits. And then you're left like, yeah.
I feel like trailer production is a bit of an art, and I think totally. Some people make better trailers than others.
Yeah.
That don't reveal too much. They kind of get you hooked, and they don't do an injustice to the actual film.
Jerry said my next horror movie is La Llorona on Shudder. It's a Spanish movie and it's a modern twist on an old folk tale. It was the first time a trailer made me feel uneasy since Hereditary. Ooh, so Shudder is a new-ish horror-only streaming service.
I don't know if it's available in Australia yet, is it?
It is.
It is? Cool.
Yeah, I've been thinking about getting it, but I haven't really heard a whole lot of reviews, so I wasn't sure what it's like. But if you guys are all for Shudder, I might have to check it out. Then we can talk about horror. I could do a horror segment every week.
That'd be great.
That'd be cool. I love horror. It's so good. It's a media that is not often done well, but when it is, it's a good time. Same as the games. Like sometimes horror games tend to go for the cheap shots, the cheap jump scares, and they get your heart racing and whatnot. But a really good horror game doesn't need to use jump scares to set the scene and to make you feel things.
Yep.
Like Five Nights at Freddy's, I wouldn't say it's a horror game. It's just like a jump scare simulator. Like I suppose the character design and just the human element to it really just pulls you in and makes you feel. Which I suppose I think that's a good segue into something else we had written down in our notes, and that was your game pick of the week. Yeah.
Which I actually played. So you have a chat about it. I had a playthrough afterwards, and we can discuss our thoughts.
My game of the week was Tell Me Why, but I can talk about Unheard.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can talk about Unheard. I'll talk about.
Yeah, go for it.
So yeah, my gaming pick of the week is Tell Me Why, which is a story-driven narrative with like butterfly effects in it. So it's made by Xbox Studios, and it touches on a topic that obviously sometimes isn't or hasn't really been covered in mainstream games. The main character is transgender and has transitioned from female to male, and it's the first time that they, in a major studio, has been playable. So that in itself made me interested in it, because I think representation in media is super important, and there's a lot of people in my community that are part of the LGBTQI+, and so that kind of type of stuff for me is really important, that people like that are represented and feel like they are heard. I played the first 2 episodes of it. I don't want to spoil anything because I'm sure there's people in chat that want to play it. It's interesting. I obviously, as just a straight female, I don't have a whole lot of experience with transitioning, or I don't have anyone who's trans that's close to me that has transitioned. So I kind of want that perspective. If there's anybody in chat that can like help with that perspective, that'd be amazing, because there's certain parts of the game where Tyler is the person who's transitioned. He comes back to his hometown as a male for the first time since being a child as a female, and the interactions that you have with people, it's hard for me. I don't have a point of reference, so I don't know what it would be like, but the person that voices Tyler in the game is also trans, and apparently he was super happy with how everything was handled, so obviously he's got first-hand experience with that, so that's good to know. But for me, like, you run into people that are, kind of just, they're in Alaska, so they're, kind of excluded, and people that you would think would be really like, oh, what the fuck, like, I'm not gonna call you he or whatever, they kind of like they glaze over it a tiny bit. But I also feel like, because I don't have first-hand experience with that, I don't know how people would react. So there's a situation where you're talking to a guy that's pretty, gruff, older kind of guy, and he's really nice about it, and I'm like, would it be that way, or would they be super confused by it, or would they be rude? Like, I don't know. So I don't know if it was handled super well. I can't really speak to that, obviously, because I really was hoping someone in chat would be able to weigh in, but yeah, I don't think there was anybody that was there. So, I mean, do you have any experience do you have friends who are trans, or?
You just made me think about a viewer of it was before FFP, it was in BTF actually. Yeah. Who was trans, and I would constantly be making the mistake of referring to her as he. And I think a lot of it was like I absolutely wasn't meaning to, and I think it's the same way that I use the pronoun guys when speaking to chat, and because it was text on the screen may have had something to do with it as well. It was very, very hard to I suppose keep that in front of mind, and I think, like you said there, where some people's reactions are kind of glaze over it. For me personally, I think when I do mess up, I tend to just try and play it cool. And I'm just like Yeah, cool. Yeah, sweet. And it may come across as I'm sort of glazing over something, but I'm just trying to make it look like I didn't mess up in the first place, if that makes sense. So it's yeah, that's I can kind of see how that comes across. But yeah, that's I think that it's probably a lot more accepted these days because it is because of social media and because we have so much more exposure to it.
Yep.
But again, like you said, I don't have a lot of experience in first-hand relationships with people that have transitioned, unfortunately.
So Ali said you get more hate online than you do offline. Source, I am NB and have trans friends. NB is non-binary. I didn't know that about you, Ali. So is your pronoun they, them? If you're non-binary, I believe? Because that means you don't identify with male or female gender, right?
And I think the online part is anonymity as well, which is the reason. It's the reason why the KKK wear masks is because you know what they have these big angry voices, but they're just not willing to be identified. They're not willing to identify themselves. So yeah, I think that's right. In person, you're not likely to come up against a lot of stuff because people are just scared. People are little sheepish things until they're online behind a keyboard. And
Counterpoint, Facebook. They have their real names in there and they still choose to be absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Benedict says, I think most people don't want to be rude to people to their face. I mean, people are cowards, to be honest. Like, I think people aren't inherently evil. I don't think people mean to be assholes for the most part. Like, there are obviously people out there that just want to make everybody miserable because they are miserable. And that's just humans. And that's fine. Hate is learned, absolutely. But I think like what you said in my chat as well, Jeff, I think it's less about people being actually transphobic and more just being uneducated and not understanding.
Trans ignorant, I think is what I kind of,
Definitely.
Yeah. So that's cool. So you enjoyed that. How many parts of that are there?
So there's 3 parts. The next part comes out next week.
Yeah, okay, cool.
So far it's been a ride. Like, I don't want to spoil it too much. I'm not going to talk about like what happens in the game, but I would definitely say like it's worth playing. There's after each episode, it's normally like a little bit of cliffhanger, so that keeps it interesting. And the choices that you make affect the outcome quite a lot. There are a couple people in chat who have played it and like, wait, I didn't have this conversation. This went completely different for me because of things that you've said previously and decisions that you've made and information you may have or may have not gotten from people that determines how later interactions go with them, which is really cool. And I think it's kind of like how The Last of Us was. You know, the games aren't sunshine and rainbows, and it may not be conversations that people want to have or situations that they want to be in, and you do end up in a situation where you're like, oh my god, I'm so torn, like I don't know what I want to choose. And that's, you know, that's life. That's real life. Like, you're not always gonna like the 2 options that you get to choose from. They're not always gonna be like a really great option that's obviously the one you want to go with, and a shitty option that you're just gonna cast aside. That's 2 things where you're gonna be like, oh my god, like whatever I do here, there's gonna be consequences. And I think it's really important for games to do that, because too often are we just given, you know, big boobies and a happy ending. or
a plumber that jumps around and collects coins. I'm not bashing Mario either. I'm just it's a really interesting juxtaposition there between, you know, this sort of a game that really emotes and really feels, and it's got a lot of human aspect, and then you've got a game that is super popular, which is literally just jumping on Goombas' heads. And so yeah, it's gaming is huge. It's not just for you know, a small subset of humans. It's everyone can enjoy something there.
And seeing more and more representation. You know, if you looked at games 10 years ago, everyone's just a white dude, and now it's like you've got people of all walks of life now being represented in games and all cultures. Like, you look at the cast of Apex Legends, like there's non-binary, there's gay people, there's straight people, there's white, there's, you know, Latinos, all types. It's awesome. It's really cool to see. Like, and people, robots. Like people of those categories are like, I want to play as that person because that's my culture, and that's really cool that I'm finally getting to see it. Like, you don't really realize, and it was the same for me with The Last of Us. Like, seeing Abby, like a woman with huge arms, like being represented. I didn't know I needed to see that in games until I saw it, and I was like, that's actually sick. Like, seeing strong women in media is like really nice. I like it.
Yeah,
it's cool. Benabert says it's also confronting to a lot of people when they see a real person in front of them and realize stuff that they may have said or done in the past is about an actual human, just like them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So those sort of things can lead to changing the world. You'd hope that it wouldn't lead to people turning off the TV and sort of ignoring it, but I think a lot of it, people will become more compassionate in real life situations as well, which is absolutely all about, you know, the are you okay and the mental health aspect of things we're talking about this week.
Yep, definitely. Mr. Plow, my family is all types of phobic. As a young lad, I was a bit the same. I made a remark to a friend whose brother is gay, and I saw it hurt him, and I had a big turning point in my personality. I'm accepting of everyone in their lives now, and we're all just humans, as you said. Yeah, I mean, cancel culture is a big thing in online media, and you can't really expect people to, like, if you've been surrounded, say you've grown up in a really Catholic household, and, you know, you've been told that you're not allowed to be homosexual, or you're not allowed to marry someone who's not Catholic, or, you know, all those types of things. You can't really expect people like that to just know how to react in those situations if they've never been exposed to it, if they've been shut in and only shown one way of living. Like, that's, you can't blame those people, and you need to be able to help people learn and make mistakes and grow from that. Like, you see people online, you know, people dig up tweets from 10 years ago of people and then cancel them. Like Jenna Marbles left the internet because of things she said a few years ago that were somewhat acceptable at the time. Like, jokes have changed over time. Things that you can and can't joke about have changed over time in comedy, for sure. And, you know, she addressed them, she said sorry, and it was still not enough for people. They pretty much used their pitchforks, and she left the internet for whoever knows, like, could be permanently. And it's just, cancel culture is so ridiculous, because how can you expect people to want to change? Like, people that try to change, you just berate them with hate, and it's like, well, what's the point of anyone trying to be a better person? Because you're always going to see them as a person they were 10 years ago, when they may have said something that was, you know, racist or homophobic or whatever. It's just, yeah, cancel culture really makes my blood boil, because you have to be able to accept people that make mistakes and say sorry and own up to their mistakes and try to be better.
I think it also comes from like a sense of entitlement, where people feel like, you know what, I think this person should stop doing what they're doing, so it's my right to try and stop them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that behind it too, and the psychology could go deep if we were to talk about it. Yeah. So it's a funny one. But yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. It leaves no place for growth and learning. Give people a chance, and then if they continuously fuck up, then you can cancel them. Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Jerry had my family tell my cousin that he wasn't gay and that it can go away. When he came to his cousin's wedding, came out to his cousins, we were accepting. We had a long emotional talk. Yeah. It's so crazy. Like I love my mom, and she's great, but when it starts to get political and the differences in generation really start to show, it's just crazy how the mentalities of, like, I wouldn't say my parents are like homophobic or racist, but some of the stuff that they say is definitely questionable to, you know, my ideals and things like that. And I definitely find myself more often than not clashing with people in my family, because it feels like the mentalities are just so different. Like, my parents are in their 60s and I'm just under 30, so there's a big generational gap, and you can definitely, like, yeah, I don't think they're inherently hateful, but some of the stuff they say, I'm like,
I think there's a difference in exposure as well. Like, you're exposed to a lot of different people, different cultures, just being in the online world, and they're probably less so as well. So yeah.
It's just,
and you've also got a lot on the line if you do say anything wrong. Whereas people like your parents, my parents, everyone's in that generation kind of are a little bit more shut in. So the things that they say are a bit more behind closed doors.
Totally, yeah. Bloody families, eh? So have we talked about? So we talked about games, movies, TV shows, podcasts. Any books? Any audiobooks you've been listening to?
I've started a book. Well, actually, I played through Unheard, the first part, without the DLC, and that was just a real quick note on that. You really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the change in it being, you don't need a 3070 or a 3080 to run that one. It's just a top-down little 2D thing, and it's all about deduction. It's all about logic puzzles. So I mean, I won't go too much into that because I think it's something you kind of have to experience for yourself.
Yeah.
If you did watch Grace's stream, then yeah, you probably can't play it yourself. You will have seen the spoilers. But I luckily I wasn't able to catch that stream, so I was able to play myself, and it's really, really good. So that one's my pick of the week.
It's also made from a tiny studio, and when I was playing the DLC, they came into chat, and it was like so wholesome. And so nice. So Next Studios. They came into chat. They're like, thank you for supporting the game. I'm like, oh my god.
That's good because this is the time when a lot of studios are struggling too. So
totally.
It's good. It's good to support little ones. So,
So if you guys didn't see the playthrough and you like the sound of a audio-based detective type of game, definitely check out Unheard. It's on Steam. I think it was about $12, $15.
Yeah, it wasn't expensive.
Wasn't a lot. The DLC is also free. There's 2 DLCs. One is called The Lethal Script, which is a free DLC that's in English. There's also a second DLC, which is only in Chinese, because it's apparently about one of the festivals over there. I asked them why the DLC wasn't in English. Let me double check exactly what they said.
Yeah. Because it's to do with like a Chinese public holiday, is it? Or?
Yeah, they said the last DLC is about the Spring Festival in China, which is very cultural, so it's very hard to localize.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
They said we are looking into doing more of Unheard, though, with the eyes, like the eye emoji. So
yeah,
you can maybe expect to see more Unheard content, hopefully in the not too distant future.
That's cool. Yeah, I like the mechanics. So it's something you can really, really just build a lot of content for. Mm-hmm. Nice. And so back onto the other pick. Mm-hmm. Books. So I've finished one audiobook and I've moved on to another one. So the one that I finished was called Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman. And Feynman is F-E-Y-M-A-N or F-E-Y-N-M-A-N. Will, if you're in either of our chats here, you might know this one. So Richard Feynman was one of the world's greatest physicists. So he was on the Manhattan Project. He helped Einstein and Niels Bohr sort of map out the atom and work with atoms and those sorts of things. And if I explain it like that, do I know Richard Feynman? I explain it like you'd think of like some nerdy guy, right? Just thick glasses, uber nerd, button down shirt, etc. This book is actually his autobiography. And it goes into things like, him taking copious amounts of drugs and being an amazing drummer and, just random stuff that he did. Some of the funniest stuff you'll ever read or ever hear of from one of the world's, nerdiest dudes. So that was an amazing book. So if you're ever looking for a book on that, that's just something random. That's a good one. And the one that I started, which I alluded to earlier on in the fitness stream, was called Changemaker. And the subtitle is Turn Your Passion for Health and Fitness into a Powerful Purpose and Wildly Successful Career. So you see why I'm reading that. And even just in the foreword, which again I mentioned earlier, the fitness industry, if you compare it to something like pharmacy or chemistry or those sorts of things, they've been around for 3,000, 4,000 years. The fitness industry, as it is right now, has been around for 30 years. So we kind of need to take into account the fact that it's a very immature business structure, and we're kind of going through that learning process, and it's a really, really big chance for opportunity for people to do things right. So that's what this book's about, and that's what I'm reading at the moment.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. I've got I haven't read a hard copy book for a very long time. I've got an audio book that I want to start that my tattoo artist actually recommended to me. I think it's called Women Don't Owe You Pretty, and she said it changed her whole life. So I kind of want to listen to that. I think it's a very kind of girl power type of thing, which ties in with my latest tattoo. That's how we got onto the topic of it. And I've also got a couple books that I've got that I need to read. I got Logic's book called Supermarket, which is, he just wrote a novel that's loosely based on parts of his life, and Animal Farm, which I'm kind of deciding whether or not I'm going to either stream it and read it out loud to you guys, or like record it and then do it as a premiere or something. But I really would like to get into reading books more, but obviously time is of the essence, so audiobooks might be a better way to do it, so I can, you know, be consuming a book while I'm also editing videos or doing something else, because I don't have a whole lot of time to just sit and read, and I find myself, I've always got so much like that I'm thinking about in terms of like content. I have trouble kind of switching off. So when I'm reading a book, like I might read a whole page and be like, I wasn't even taking that in. I was just thinking about other shit. So maybe audiobooks would be better for me, because if I hear stuff, generally I do retain the information.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Do you listen to the books, or do you read?
I listen. Yeah. So the time I spend driving from place to place, I'll often chuck them on.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah. And also if I'm doing some busy work, like if I'm doing work that requires my attention, I don't like words or lyrics, so I'll go to bassdrive.com and just put some drum and bass on.
Okay.
But if it's sort of just, you know, drag and drop, just silly work, then I'll put the audiobooks on, or podcasts or whatever. Yeah. It's one of the things that we learn in coaching is that there are certain types of people. Some people learn through visualizing stuff, so videos. Some people learn through auditory, and some people learn through kinetics. So you have to actually move and hold something to learn about it.
Is there like tests to figure out what type of learner you are?
Yeah. So there's a few. Generally, you can't do them online because they can't test your physical stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think some job application things, I actually did some as part of trying to become an air traffic controller. So I am very auditory, apparently. So that's why I like the audiobooks. Yeah.
Cool. James asks, the first book, could you give a review on it when you finish it and see if a male should read or listen to it to understand it more? Yeah, I could.
Oh, is that the
Women
Don't Know You Pretty?
Pretty, yeah.
I'm very interested in that as well. Once I did hear about it.
Maybe we make that our homework before next week. We gotta listen to it, and then you can give the male perspective, and I'll give the female perspective.
All right, let me just check on my.
I know it's on Audible.
Yeah. If we see how long it is.
That's the thing. Audible. I don't have a commute, so like, I guess I could have it on while I'm doing like makeup and stuff before stream or whatever. But yeah, I don't have, like, I don't really leave my house. So I gotta find time to put that on while I'm multitasking.
This one's right. It's 4 hours and 30 minutes.
Cool.
And I tend to listen to things at 2 times speed. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I can't. It's like chipmunks.
There's a couple of people I can't. So Tim Ferriss, I have to go to 1.5 because he speaks really fast naturally.
Okay.
But people like Jocko Willink, he speaks like this, so you can do double speed. Okay.
Interesting.
Yep.
Cool. So that's our pipe up picks of the week. We'll pop them into the Discord so you guys can have a look. So
do you have a channel built yet, or will
not yet? We'll definitely chuck one of those in the Discord. Yeah, that's a good idea, James. I really like the idea of having both a male and female perspective. I think that's also why the show works, because obviously we have 2 different genders here, that different age gaps as well, and we can talk about things from both sides, which is pretty cool. Yeah. So that's pipe up picks. Let's move on to the fitness Q&A.
Bing.
So if you guys have any fitness questions, pop them into the chat for us and we can talk about it. I think before we get into any questions, do you want to just give like a little bit of an intro? I know we did kind of do that at the start, but if people are just tuning in,
people are just tuning in,
your experience with fitness, and maybe show you the transformations as well.
So
if you want to send me that link, I can open it on my screen.
Transformations, here we go. So there's a couple of links. I'll just paste this. I've just opened up your chat now as well. So
yep.
There we go. Bang.
Sweet.
So there's a couple there. So I'm Jeff. If you don't know me and you're watching from Grace's side of the squad, the channel that she's squatting with is called FitForPurpose. It's a channel that Grace and I started when I became fully qualified as a personal trainer and started working with her in the wonderful world of obstacle course racing. So I've been a trainer now for 3 years. In the links that are just in chat there, the first one with Jeff, the guy on the left was 2013, was 7 years ago.
Wow.
7 years ago. So I've been training for 7 years. The guy on the right-hand side of that picture was probably at the peak of my fitness. That's when I was on Ninja Warrior. I was world champ for Australia, representing Australia. I've done a whole bunch of 24-hour races as well. So I've not only, I suppose I'm a PT, not from being fit my whole life, and that's just what I do. I'm a PT because I've been through the journey that so many people online and around the world would like to do. The other side of that journey is, if Grace, you want to bring up your photo.
Yep.
Grace's photo is where she came from sort of an underweight perspective, maybe a perspective where she just wasn't as strong. She didn't feel strong, didn't feel confident. And we've brought her up to a point where we've put on some lean muscle mass. We've built a regime. Yeah, Grace Flex in chat. And she's strong. She's confident, and she's got that, that whole girl power thing. Girl power. It's been really, really good transition to watch and be a part of. So I'm quite proud of that too. I'm quite proud of Grace. So that's me. So we do Fit for Purpose. Grace is on Tuesdays and Thursdays when she can. I'm on every weekday morning, and I do answer a lot of fitness questions in the mornings. That being said, if you're joining in from Grace's chat on her side of Pipe Up, I'm open for questions now if you've got them. Because that's one thing that we do see on Twitch, and I do see it a lot in Grace's chat, where someone comes in and, hey Grace, give me a program for this thing, because you like fitness, so you're good. And Grace is really good at sort of pointing out that it's not her scope. She's not qualified in it. So there's not a good answer that can come from her that's going to be ethically right, I suppose.
Yeah, like, just because, and this goes for all types of life. Like, if you see someone who is fit, it doesn't mean that they know what's going to work for you. That is where it comes from in being qualified, and you being able to look at somebody and assess the situation and be like, okay, you are at this point in your life and we want to get you to this certain goal. And you even help people, dial in their goals to make them smart goals, because wanting to be fit and toned and healthy is such a broad scope and doesn't really mean anything. It's up to you to kind of figure out how to make those goals something that's actually achievable.
Yeah. So I suppose that's one of the major parts of fitness is breaking it down and breaking it away from the words that are just fluffy, sort of cloud, etc. And forming some really, really good direction and really good purpose, and that's where the name came from, Fit for Purpose. I'll just opening up my bot, because I think a few people here have actually thrown questions into the bot.
Yeah.
So
when was that Spartan photo? Do you remember mine?
Oh, your Spartan photo. That was Sydney.
Was that 2018?
That was the one. Yeah, that was the one that we ran with old mate butt crack. Bevan and Cameron, there we go.
14 months, yeah. So I was like, just to touch back on that before we jump to the questions. Yeah. At that point of the first photo, that was my first ever OCR, which is an obstacle course race, which is like True Grit, Spartan race, Tough Mudder, those types of things. So it's a long distance run with obstacles thrown in, like rope climbs, wall climbs. What a word. And that first photo was when I was severely underweight. So I'd gone through a bit of trauma in my life, and when I go through trauma, I lose my appetite. I didn't have an eating disorder, but I was probably on the cusp of it. I was really not self-aware of where my body was at, and I think it wasn't until that I met you, Jeff, you were like, holy shit, you need a steak. Like, you need some...
Let me buy you a steak.
You need to put some weight on. And it kind of... It makes me a little bit frustrated about the people in my life at the time. I know I was in a very fragile state, but I didn't have anybody around me letting me know that I was a bag of bones with a bit of skin on it. Like, I was very, very, very thin. I'm currently 73-ish kilograms. Mm-hmm. I'm not self-conscious about my weight. I was under 50 kilos at that point. So I was 20 kilograms lighter than I am now at minimum, which is a lot, way too much. At my height, I'm like 5'7", so I was incredibly, incredibly underweight, and no one in my life said anything. No one was like, whoa, you should like eat. So yeah, I think in a way Jeff kind of like saved my life, because I don't know if I could have been on the cusp of like an eating disorder. I didn't have anybody in my life that was like, yo, let's make you strong, because yeah, I was in not a good state at all. So I think that's why I've also become so passionate about obstacle course racing, and that's why I did push myself so far, is because I just felt so weak and I needed something to focus on, and I am so happy that I found OCR.
Yeah, that's good. I like that's a nice story. I like that.
So Quirkling can come in with the first question. One question I have is, how accessible are the FFP workouts for those just getting started?
Cool. Yeah. So DJ Mikey actually posted that in there, so
cool.
I can. Yeah, thank you, Mikey. So yeah, how accessible are they? Super accessible. The Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays workouts, 6:30 a.m. Adelaide time, and Mikey's helping me with this. He's making me keep down to earth. I'm making those ones really, really easily accessible. Not too full on, because I have to make sure that I'm looking after myself, number one, but I also have to make sure that people, exactly like you, Quirkling, and anyone else that's in chat sort of lurking, going, I don't know if I'm good enough for this. I don't know if I'm fit enough to do a workout. That's the whole reason why we do workouts, is so that we can become fitter. So these ones that I do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, accessible because you don't need equipment. They're just body weight. You may want a mat or a piece of carpet. Some resistance bands might go a long way as well, but I'm trying to keep those to body weight 100%. Thank you, Yoshi needs food for the biddies. Really for everybody. The Tuesdays and Thursdays workouts, they're something slightly different. Grace comes in and joins in for those ones.
Smash ourselves.
You smash it.
We'll show you guys where the line is, so you can smash it.
Yep. So we can show you. I think there's really good. I suppose there's good value in knowing the difference between a maintenance workout and getting moving and doing mobility and getting strength, as opposed to the absolutely vomit-inducing Metcon type threshold workouts. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of that.
For example, this morning you did 4 basic movements in a workout. Yep. So today was like if you want to go back to the VODs, that would be a really good one to start with. If you guys are literally starting from 0, it was bodyweight squats, planks. What was the other ones?
Push-ups and the YWTs for your back.
Yeah. So Jeff shows ways to make them, shows the progressions towards that. So if you can't do a push-up, which not a lot of people can do. I couldn't do that the first time Jeff and I trained together. I could not do a single push-up.
I remember that,
yeah. So knee push-ups, or even what's it called when you do like standing wall push-ups, or
the wall,
on a table. There's lots of different ways to make things scalable to you guys depending on your fitness abilities. So if you're starting from absolute 0, if you are 40 kilos heavier than you'd like to be, Jeff has literally been there and experienced that and can scale things for you guys. Is there 100 now in the body weight?
With today's, I believe today's was the 100th, which is actually really cool that I made it it can be your first. It's the really, really simple workout.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of bodyweight workouts in the playlist in FitForPurpose. And
if you're in my chat, I'm just going to do a quick one here. So workout there. There's a link. I can chuck this one in yours as well. Won't be a sec.
Awesome.
This is one of the first collections. There are now actually 2 collections, so there's so many to choose from.
So there's obviously some are harder than others. What might be a good idea, Jeff, is to do absolute beginner playlist, and then a little harder, so people can just go through and follow along those. So you don't need to be at the live streams to do those. You can go back with the VODs, pause it if you need more time with the movements, if you want to try and get your form down. We also have the Discord as well in FitForPurpose if you want to get form checks, or if you want to DM Jeff directly. His DMs are open for form checks if you're not comfortable sharing things in a public forum, which is totally fine.
I have a lot of questions coming in, so I'm gonna start addressing those.
Do it.
So,
let's go.
Yeah. So okay, Kiwi Will, a question: what is the best way for me to lose weight in the gym? Is it cardio? Is it weightlifting? What will help me see results after a couple of weeks? Now, when you say I want to lose weight, Kiwi Will, I'm going to make some assumptions here, and what I think you're referring to is actually body fat. So you're not actually wanting to lose weight as such. You're actually just wanting to drop your body fat percentage so that your muscles are more visible. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what you're actually asking about. The reason I've worded it that way is because when you jump on the scales, you're going to get an aggregation of both your lean mass and your body fat mass, and muscles are more dense than fat. So if you want to start seeing results, and most people want to see results in the mirror, you're going to see girth drop. So you're going to see your waist drop, you're going to see your thighs drop, you're going to see your neck drop. You might actually be putting weight on because you're building up some more muscles and you're looking a lot more defined that way. So Mikey, you are absolutely very dense. Yes. So
I think that's an adjustment that people also need to be aware of. I think it's something that's probably not spoken about enough as well, because it was something for me as someone who was underweight. It was a really weird thing being happy about seeing the scales go up. But over time, I've got to a point where I'm like, yeah, it means I'm getting swole.
and I think it's also slightly different. It's not that it needs to be talked about. It actually needs to be experienced.
Yeah.
Because I can say it to some of my clients and they can repeat it back to me and say that, yes, I believe this. But then when they see the numbers go up on the scale, I can see the disappointment in their face. Yeah.
Totally.
And it's at that point we kind of go back and we're going to do some measurements. We're going to show you that your waist has dropped, your chest is larger. Oh, look at that, you're getting a bigger chest, that's swole. And just things like that. How much more weight are you pushing? Are you able to squat your body weight now? Yes, you are. Perfect. Yeah. So it's about re-looking at the numbers. But I suppose going back to the question there, what's the best way to actually start getting results? After a couple of weeks, I think the vent, you hit the nail on the head there. After about 2 weeks, you're gonna feel better, but you may not actually see a lot of visual representations of results.
Yeah.
You might actually still be in the newbie gains area. There's a couple of really good quotes, and I always murder this whenever I say it, but after 3 months, I think it's you'll start seeing changes in yourself. After 6 months, your family starts seeing changes in you, so the people close to you. So it's going to be about a 3-month thing, and you really do want to stay on a program or some sort of regime for at least 3 months to see if it works. And if it's not working, you can change. And so back to the question where you asked what's the best way for you to go about this path. The first thing that I'd be saying is to start some resistance exercises. So learn how to move your body to prep yourself for doing things like squats, deadlifts, pushing, pulling, so rows, pull-ups. And it's about building a little bit of muscle first, because you don't want to be a useless blob that can't run because you don't have strong enough muscles, if that makes sense. Your cardio is going to be much more effective if you've got muscles to push that cardio in the right direction. So for me, as a trainer, every trainer is going to think of this differently, and this harps back to the fact that personal training as an industry is super young. It's like, a 0.5% of other fields. So I would be definitely working on general stability and strength, which means some resistance work, which means some muscle building, and then we look at trying to burn some calories. So that would be my first answer to that one.
Yeah, and I think just a good all-round kind of practice, if you are, on the obese or overweight side and you're wanting to make a relatively easy change, cut out sodas, cut out soft drinks. Like overly sugar drinks. So if you're drinking like chocolate milks or iced coffees or things with like a lot of sugar and a lot of fat, that's probably the easiest thing to just pick out of your diet. So if you drink like a can of Coke every day, cut it out. It's going to take a long time. It's going to take some time to adjust, because there are cravings. Like sugar is definitely super duper addicting. Yes. And it'll take a little time you might even have to wean off of it a little bit. But that's probably the best place to start if you are starting from absolute zero and you just want like a small change to make you feel a little better.
The first big change, like what you said there, it's removing the calories from your drinks.
Yeah.
Totally. Because drinking calories rarely makes you feel satiated like eating food. So it's kind of like you're cheating yourself. You go drink a can of soda and you're getting as much calories as a decent steak, where that after eating a steak you're going to feel satiated. So so that's exactly. You just make small changes in nutrition. Now for chat or for people listening to pipe up here, I'm not qualified as a nutritionist, so I can't be giving out yet.
Hurry up and do it.
So I can't be giving out meal plans, but I can definitely be that. What we've just spoken about there is government approved, and it's quite well studied, and it's pretty much common sense that drinking sugars is a bad thing. So that's cool. We can say that.
Okay, so next question is, I'm wanting to switch to a vegan protein: soy, pea, or rice.
Soy pea, all right. So, and I think I think before we cut out there, we spoke about why it is you'd want to switch away from whey. Whey is derived from dairy products. It's derived from an animal product. So the reason I asked that is, are you wanting to go vegan because of ethical reasons, or is it because of the dairy reasons?
Yeah.
If it's the dairy reasons, then you can actually still get protein sourced from bovines, which is in the hydrolyzed collagen peptides. So it's still from an animal product. So if you don't have an ethical reason against it, this is still cool for you. It just doesn't have all of the dairy aspects of it.
Yeah.
Personally, ethically, I'm okay with eating meat, but I don't do dairy well. Doesn't agree with me. Yep. So it's the HCP, and I get a lot of that from bulk nutrients these days. They're very, very good. The Future Whey is another one of their products which uses non-dairy. I'm not sure if Future Whey is vegan, actually. Let me have a quick look at that.
I think it is. I can't remember what it's made out of though. Judas is trying to avoid dairy because it can flare her rosacea. Can have it though.
Roger. So
she wants to do half whey, half vegan.
Future Whey is 100% vegan friendly.
Cool.
It's a free-form amino acid and available in 2 great flavors. So I'm going to post that link into my chat and your chat.
Can recommend that. There's a cola one, and if you mix it with soda water, it's like drinking Coke. No, obviously not like exactly the same. It's
delicious.
It's
delicious.
Really nice. It's like a yummy cola flavor. I have not tried. I think they got lemonade as well. I haven't tried that one.
Cola and lemonade. Yeah.
So yeah, mix it with soda water or mineral water or something. Give it that like bubbly, and that could also be a really good way to supplement having sodas if you wanted to have that, and that's where kombucha as well is really good if you're trying to cut out soft drinks. You still get that like bubbly feel and a nice flavor, but you're not getting all of the sugar and the empty calories.
Correct. And that's one of the few vegan proteins without that really gritty aftertaste as well.
Yeah, it's like the weird sandy like. Ugh.
Yep.
Nah,
Mixing it with soda water, you do have to be a little bit careful because when you stir it, it does flare up and bubble and go everywhere. So you gotta be. It's a bit of an experiment there, but yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Nice, awesome. So that was Judas's question. After that, I think it was Mikey that posted into mine. Ranger James had one. What stretches should I be doing after my tennis matches? I slightly pulled my groin muscle and I've neglected to stretch for a very long time. I know I'm only 27, but the older I get, the more prone to injuries I get if I don't stretch. True. So the rule about stretching, you're always going to be doing your dynamic stretching before your workouts. So you're going to be doing the moving type stretching. Be careful not to make them ballistic. So ballistic stretching is where you're actually putting a lot of weight onto the contraction as it stretches. Whereas dynamic stretching is like a leg swing where you're just sort of swinging the leg back and forth, or you're swinging your arms around. Now,
inchworms or
where you're moving through them without putting power and like a hard stop onto it. Now, stretching after workouts, that's static stretching. So that's the type of thing there. You're going to grab those muscles that were working a lot. They're fatigued and they're tight because they've been constantly contracting and moving. And you're going to find the stretches that work those muscles. So I would say after tennis is a lot of left and right running.
Explosive movements.
Yep. It's explosive lateral movements. So what you're going to be looking at are the muscles on the lateral and the medial side of your legs. So we're not specifically looking at the big glute butt in the front or the quads on the front. We're going to, the butt on the back and the quads on the front. We're going to be looking at the glute medius, which are the ones on the side of your butt around your hips. And we're going to be looking at exactly like what you said, your groin muscles, the adductors. They're the ones that bring your legs together. So there are some really, really good, actually, I probably can't do it because I'm cabled to the computer now with this headset, so I can't show you in the gym now. But
need
James...
that new Logitech G733 wireless headset.
Yeah, that's right,
with, a lot of range.
Oh,
I tested it, went down to the kitchen, and it stayed on.
It worked?
Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, you'd want to be doing some groin stretches. So it's probably like sitting butterfly stretches, glute med stretches. They're a little more difficult to stretch, but if you can see me in one window here,
that cuts off so much with the noise gate.
Like that. That's what you do. You're gonna be doing like a cross-legged sort of lean over, stretching the side there. That hits a little bit of the ITB. Thanks. It hits a little bit of your ITB as well, which you're gonna have
Runner's
some knee things. Yeah. So there's some good ones. But James, if you wanted to catch me in a morning stream, I can definitely show you.
Demos
Happy
and
baby
things.
stretch is a good one too. Absolutely.
That
Yeah,
goes for
Happy Baby.
anyone either in my chat or Jeff's chat. Like if you guys come by in the mornings during Jeff's fitness streams, he normally does like a question time every morning where you can ask things like that, and he can literally demo them to you because he's got a wireless mic and he can jump back and show you form things with stretches or movements in general.
Yep. Easy. Were there any more questions? The next one I've got here.
Mikey's got them all from my chat.
Yes,
so,
sweet.
yeah.
Awesome. So I've got Kiwi Will. I'm currently 286 pounds and want to go down to 154. So that's about a 130 pound drop. What sort of gym routines would I recommend? And should I watch food portions?
For Aussies, that's 129 kilograms, 286
Nice.
pounds.
Yep. So I started at 119 kilograms, so very similar starting points there. And you want to go down to 154. Currently, when I was at my peak of like 5% body fat, I was 155. So you got very similar goals to what I did. Yes, I was definitely watching my portions, my foods. I had a 1,500 day streak in my fitness pal.
Wow.
I was watching and not to say that every day was in a deficit. I was just religiously logging everything. Yep. If I had a excess day, I was happy to not be guilty about it. I wouldn't repeat it, but I'd track everything I had just to have a laugh at how many calories I ate in the day. So you just make it a religion, make it a habit. The grind, absolutely. So yes, you'll be doing that. And in terms of workout routine, that's the sort of thing I'm paid to do because it is so
specific.
Personalized.
Yeah.
Yep. And the reason why people often, and this is in that book that I'm reading, the reason why people fail at their workout routines is because they're often given cookie cutter things and they're not checked up on. So part of my challenge that I'm going to spend a lot more time doing is actually writing the programs for people, but then having, the every couple of days just calling up or messaging or checking in with people, because it's not that a program's good, it's just maybe sometimes life happens and you have to adjust the program around it. And so, yeah, it's a very personal thing.
Yeah, I think people also, they try and find a free program online or something that is, like you said, cookie cutter, and one, they're not invested in it. They haven't spent any money on it, so they've got no reason to really keep up with it. They've just copy-pasted something off the internet, and they're like, cool, yeah, let's see how this goes. And because it isn't created for them with their own goals in mind, they don't see progress and like, well, this is stupid, this is pointless, like, I'm not going to try. And then that makes your job really hard when you're trying to sell someone a program that actually is going to, help them, because it's going to be written for them with their schedule in mind, with their body's abilities in mind. And something where they will see progress, but then they don't see value in that because they've taken a free one and they're like, oh, well, that didn't work, so then fitness is just pointless or whatever, it's not for me or whatever. Like,
yeah, exactly.
And so you guys can definitely, follow along with Jeff's bodyweight stuff, and you'll, at the very least, build a habit if you start doing something, 4 or 5 days a week, consistently doing something, every single day or if whatever. But again, it's not going to be built for you. So you'll see some kind of progress, but obviously the real value lies in something that is created for you. And I speak as a client of Jeff's for 3 years, where I have seen my body change in lots of different ways.
Perfect. Sweet. So the next question. Oh yeah, you've gone? Yeah, go for it.
Pato Daniel asks, people always say eat clean. Can you elaborate? What does that mean?
Yeah. I don't like that term.
It's very,
eat clean. What I would say is eat whole foods. That's probably the best way to say it. And when we say whole foods, it's like what I said earlier. If you're gonna eat wheat products, we're not gonna get wheat that's been bleached and scrubbed down to the minimal white thing. White rice is the same. It's been scrubbed and it's been bleached. The outer husks of a lot of foods and the skins of a lot of foods contain a lot of the vitamins, but they also contain a lot of the enzymes. So funnily enough, I think it's the wheat husk or the barley husk. The enzymes in the husk actually assist your body in digesting the seed itself. So it's like it's giving you a whole package ready to be digested, but then we go ahead and we scrub it clean and we bleach it and we get rid of that stuff, and then we realize, oh, I can't eat gluten. Yeah. Like you're gonna eat whole foods, and Mikey says it best in the chat here: eat to live, don't live to eat. We do also have to look at the things we're putting into our body as fuel for what we're doing. So there's fuel and it's a recovery. So when we say eat clean, when people say eat clean, I think what they're trying to say is you're eating for what your body needs. Your body doesn't need a Twinkie. It really doesn't. So you're going to eat the things that you need for the macros that you need, for the micros that you need, and in a proper amount. I think that's the best way to summarize eating clean.
Yeah, I think it's also important to not, what's the word? Demonize junk food. Like, obviously you can't eat chips and chocolate and pies and pizza and burgers every single day. But, I mean, you're a human being. We're going to have cravings. As a woman who has a period every single month, there's a day where I just need to eat a whole packet of jelly beans. And that's okay. I'll make up for it in the rest of the week. Like, you are a human being with cravings. And you know what? There's going to be days where everybody's like, hey, let's go out and get some pizza. And you want to be able to say yes. And that's why we try to encourage, 95% of the time, choose whole foods. Choose things that are nutritious and that are going to be good for your body. If you want to go out and eat your body weight in sushi one night, cool. Live your life. Like, we're only on this planet once. So, don't be too strict on yourself. Don't obsess over every single calorie and every single micronutrient that you're eating, because that can develop a really unhealthy relationship with food. And that, leads into another whole topic
stress
of
hormones.
Mental. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Sushi is one thing worth breaking for. Absolutely.
That's it. Cool. So that was I like that one. Question, new history. I'm curious, what kind of approach would you suggest for an illustrator? Here. An illustrator who spends a lot of time on my desk and gets RSI and back pain. Would strengthening help? I really like the way you've worded that question, because yes.
Should I? Let's
strengthening helps.
Demonstrate.
Strengthening helps. Yeah.
Get one of these ones.
Get that one.
Get one of these ones.
So that's. I was gonna say. So there's a couple of things at play there. You've mentioned you're an illustrator. So you're working very internally. Your job is a lot like this. Like that sort of thing, which you can't really change that so much, but what you can be changing is your work desk that you've mentioned. So the work desk, you can see, this is my work desk. I'm a standing desk. Grace has also got a standing desk that goes up and down. Mine, I've just taken the handle off. Mine just lives up. Fine.
Badass.
But what's happening, if you've got the back pain, there's a couple of things, and I'm really, really glad you didn't ask for stretches first, because back pain is often caused by the wrong muscles activating to keep you upright. What's happening is that your back muscles, like this, kind of in this sort of position while you're working, and it's your back muscles that are activating to try and keep you at that angle. What you want to be doing is a bit more upright and using these guys. So most humans are meant to have really big, nice round butts, because they're some really big, heavy muscles, and they're meant to keep you upright. So you want to be lifting this is the science of ergonomics now. This is lifting your work area to an area that you're not having to lurch over and put yourself into that precarious position of basically fatiguing your back. So that's number one. The RSI aspect, that can come from an overuse of this sort of the repetitive stress injury. Now that's going to be slightly more in depth and slightly more specialized than what I know. There's a few things you can do. You can speak to a chiropractor, because sometimes people actually confuse RSI with carpal tunnel syndrome. And the carpal tunnel is the middle of the it's the middle of the wrist where all of the things sort of go through, and exactly like Grace said, it's an adjustment where they kind of pop this and pull it and yoink it, and it
freaking hurts, and it makes a loud noise.
It makes a weird cracking noise. But once that's done, it kind of frees up the stuff in there and you can move it around. In terms of strengthening for RSI, sometimes it's the muscles in your forearm here that are overly tight and they're holding in a position. So I see it a lot in gamers where their mouse hand is like this, and they're kind of, especially with high DPI gamers, funnily enough. So high DPI gamers, because they're like this, it's all wrist. Whereas low DPI like me, it's like this. We're moving our mouse around like a crazy person. Moving our arm like that. So yeah, it's a funny one. So yeah, I'd be looking at changing your workstation, looking at strengthening your glutes.
From a like body function standpoint, high DPI, obviously with your mouse moving around just from your wrist, is that worse than your entire arm?
It depends on how it is you're holding your wrist into place.
Yeah.
It's going to depend on I suppose me seeing the position of your arm, because I mean you can have high DPI players that are sitting like this with one leg up and like that, and that's going to be awful. That's going to be really bad. Whereas you can probably set yourself up to be in a really good position for high DPI. But I don't know if that's the case, if a lot of people are actually doing that.
Because I was going to ask my next question, like if it is better to use your arm, would it be worth converting, like trying to adjust yourself to be like an arm low DPI for your body?
Yeah, the answer to this question is going to be similar to the answer. So when I had the shoulder pains, the doctor said to me, look, most cases I'd be giving the person an injection, but because you're actually an athlete, I would not do that, because there is a small chance that something's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
If you're an esports professional and you make your money through gaming, I wouldn't be changing what you do, because there's a chance you're going to throw your whole game off and your career's out the window. So it'd be more about trying to manage what you do and getting that to work better. So it's going to be case by case. Yeah.
Interesting. Joshin's got a question.
Yeah.
Is there an alternative to get the nutrients? My diverticulitis prevents me from being able to eat grains, seeds, and husks.
Let me look up this one. I'm not an
sure
expert in the disease.
Terribly. My apologies.
Okay, I see.
So
Now,
I'm kind of the same, like, I can't do corn or beans or chickpeas or a lot of legumes, which is so unfortunate because there's so many good things in those.
yeah, so what you'll want to be doing, and this is where, again, something else in that book that I'm reading is that what happens is people start going to university as a fitness professional and they start getting more and more specialized, when what the fitness world needs is what we call case managers, where we're all generalists. So I'm actually the GP of the fitness world. I'm the general practitioner. And what we need are more people that know more about a lot of things and can become case managers. So Dreschen, if you're my client, I'm not going to be able to tell you what supplements you need to take and what medicines you need to take, but I'm going to have some friends in the industry who can actually do that, and I will manage your case for you, and I will be the one source of contact, and I can contact these people for you. So this one, it looks like it's actually a disease of the digestive tract that, like you said, you can't have certain foods, so you're not going to be able to get those nutrients from having those foods.
Yeah, she said TLDR is basically pockets in my intestines that trap all of the things the stomach struggles to break down.
Yeah, okay. So what you're going to be doing is looking at from the other end, where in your bloods, if you can have some bloods taken and you can have a look at what sort of deficiencies you have on that side of things, that'll give you a chance to figure out what sort of that'll give you a chance what sort of things you'll need to be taking in terms of supplements to make it right on the other end, because you're not going to be able to get those nutrition or the nutrients from having the food itself, so you're going to want to take it some other way. So yeah, that's the best answer I can give on that, unfortunately. But it's going to be a case of having bloods taken, see what you're deficient in, and seeing if you can take those supplements in their own sort of supplement form. Yeah. Okay. That's an interesting one.
Just jumping back to the ergonomic type things. Gavin asked, are ergonomic chairs worth it? Is something like a Secret Lab chair good enough when a standing desk is not available at work, considering a good ergo chair is like $1,000 plus?
Yeah, I've spoken about ergonomics in the past. If you have an injury or some sort of pain or some sort of mobility issue that you're currently working around, sorry, there's some weird...
You're right?
Yeah, no, there's...
Yeah. What's it called?
You know, there's people there, yeah.
Whatchamacallit?
Weird stuff. So if you've got some sort of injury that you're working around, then ergonomic chairs are really, really good for getting your spine back into alignment and to support things that may be hurting. Now, if you do have a strong posterior chain, and a posterior chain is all the muscles from here, the back of your body. Sorry if you didn't hear that. Everything on the back of your body. If you have a strong posterior chain, then I would definitely not be too concerned about getting an ergonomic chair, because what that lumbar support is going to do is make you lazy. It's a little bit like wearing a weight belt in everyday training. I would definitely recommend a weight belt in competition because it's going to help you pick up more weight. But if you do that every single day, it's going to become a crutch, and your body's going to become used to having something there to help it. So you're going to find that when you get an ergonomic chair, your body's going to conform to that. And when you switch chairs or when you go about the rest of your life outside of the chair, things are going to hurt. So that's the problem.
The first thing I do with my Secret Lab chair is yeet the lumbar pillow. It's on my back. It's like here with the plushies, because it's not. It puts my back in the craziest like position. It's just not natural.
Yep. So when I do sit, I mean, I have a Secret Labs chair, but I've yeeted the lumbar pillow. But out here in the gym, you guys have seen my chair.
The bowl, exercise ball chair.
Yeah, it's a ball.
Ellie said, I'm just so short. Chairs are a nightmare. I can't keep my posture good and my feet on the floor properly. I'm in hell.
That's one of those things, Ali. If you are choosing to sit at a desk, you're going to want a shorter desk. So for the ergonomics, you're going to need to have that desk down nice and low so that your forearms are parallel to the ground and your workspace is here. Top of the monitors at about the eye level.
Are there not chairs made for shorter people?
You can also get footstools. So if you can get a bit of a stool that you can pop your feet up on.
Yeah.
That works. Yeah.
Do you have a question? So I've got one here.
Yeah, I've got some more.
Okay,
so there was we had that one. The vent. How important is changing movement patterns, aka different types of stimulants or exercise? Pretty important.
Very. Yeah.
Not so much like all the time. Like I did say earlier that you want to find something and stick to it for 3 months or so,
Burbs
which is
back
true.
For you.
I know the burbs. That's what I was afraid of. Burbs. So you want to stick to a program for a certain amount of time because you want it to have its effect. But once you start to plateau, that's when you want to start to add in stimulants, because the body will adapt to whatever it's given. And if you go for 3 years on the same program, you're going to wake up every morning and that's going to be super simple. That program is just going to be like a walk in the park. So you want to change it up so that your body finds something else that it's not used to, and can actually adapt to that. So that's what it's all about. So yes, you do want to stick to a program for at least 3 months, but once you plateau on that and once you start not progressing, that's when you want to change things around. So yeah, pretty important.
I think that's one of the most satisfying things with like when we train and then we go back to do a workout that we did 2 months ago, and then you just obliterate it and it's like, yes.
Yep.
Like 2 months ago I rated this a 10 out of 10. Today it's like a 6. Like it's, and I think that's something that's really cool about the app that Jeff's built as well, is there's rating system in there. So when you finish a workout, it'd be like, hey, how'd you go? Like, was it a 4 out of 10, which is like easy mode, or was it a 7 out of 10, which is like moderately difficult, or was it a 10 out of 10, like that's the hardest thing I've ever done? It's really cool to give you a point of reference so that when you do go back and do it, you can see the weights that you pulled or the amount of reps that you did and the difficulty rating that you gave it, and then kind of compare.
Yep.
More data is always better. So
absolutely, yeah, very true. Cool.
Next question comes from Pardo Daniel. He said, question on sleep. How important is a good sleep? Not many people talk about it that I've found.
Yeah, it's very important. Very important. Sleep is 1/3. I drew this picture. I didn't actually draw it. I made symbols of it this morning. But if we were to break up the physical aspects of training into thirds, I would say that 1/3 of it is the actual workout, 1/3 of it is nutrition, so the food that you eat to fuel and recover from the workouts, and the other third of it is the actual recovery process. Because workouts are meant to stress your body. That's the whole point. They are a stress. Yeah. Your body goes through stress. It then sits back and has a look at the stresses that it just went through and goes, how can I improve so that next time I come up against that stress, I'll tackle it better. Go to sleep. Your body changes a whole bunch of processes. You go from being conscious and having the power sent to your conscious thoughts, and then it goes into repair mode. So while you're asleep, lots and lots of good things happen in your brain and in your body. So I can't speak on the chemical processes, I don't know them, but sleep is definitely one of the overlooked aspects of fitness that people don't put enough time into.
What do you think is an important, sorry to cut you off, that's an important thing in regards to sleep as just like a baseline, like getting quality sleep, which means, going to bed at a similar time each night, getting your circadian rhythm in check, and waking up naturally with, daylight, or like making sure that you are getting REM sleep.
Yeah,
I know Ali laughs in insomnia.
Insomnia, yeah. So there's lots of. Obviously, I'm speaking in terms of the general population. The 85% or the 2 standard deviations or whatever you want to talk about. There's gonna be some people on the edges of the bell curve. It's the important things that you want to try and do to maintain a good sleep schedule are limit your screen time before sleeping. Try and black out everything, because your body responds to light. The amount of blue light, or just the higher frequency light that comes into your eyeballs, that sets off a whole bunch of hormones that are meant to keep you awake or to keep you asleep. So if you can limit the amount of light in your room, blackout curtains is a good idea. That being said, though, you do kind of want to wake up with natural light. It helps you wake up. So one of the first things I do when I wake up, turn my alarm off if I don't snooze it straight away, and then I'll go into a bathroom and I'll turn all of the lights on, and I'll just kind of like this. But guaranteed, after a couple of minutes there, it's just like, yeah, cool, let's go about my day, I'm fine. And that's sort of what I've taught my body to do. And if I have a day off, I'll actually find myself waking up at that same sort of time that I'm usually burning my eyeballs out, and I'm just like, well, I'm awake now, I'm awake, it's cool. So we've built that. Sleeping is pretty important. I think that covers most of what you asked about that, how to go about doing that, lightness, darkness, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Cool. You've got
nice. More? Yeah, I've got a few.
Nice.
The Well Hungarian, for your hiking, do you use a GPS watch for mapping? Yes, I use the Garmin Fenix 5X. Grace has a 5S. Yep. So what I do, I actually map the courses out ahead of time. I use All Trails to map it out. I then export a GPX file and I load that into Garmin Connect, and then I load that into my watch. Not this one, this one.
Is that a global site, All Trails?
Yes, cool. Yes. So, it's global. It's got, there's a pro version that has some different types of terrain maps, but the free version for me has obviously worked really, really well. And so, once I've got that, the upper tier models of the Phoenixes, so the X's or the Pros or whatever, I think from 5 onwards, they will allow you to read a map on the watch itself. Otherwise, just carry your phone with you. If you're hiking, it's fine. If you're running, it's a little bit harder to carry a phone, but if you're hiking, you can carry a phone with a map on it. So that's what I use. Yeah. Do you have any more questions?
Ali just said that cannot be good for your eyes, like getting out of a dark room and then suddenly turning on the lights. Your eyes. Oh,
it's not really a sudden. Sorry, I dramatize that a little bit. It's I'll turn the lights on and I'll sit there like this for a bit.
Does that damage your eyes, like sudden changes in light?
I don't think it damages.
I need an optometrist.
I think there's a potential that it can hurt your retinas, because your retina is they're the most important cells in your eyeball. Okay. The retina contains the most important cells of your eyeball, on the inside. I don't think having like a lot of light shone at them straight away is gonna break too much. But that's the whole point of your iris. So if you can give it a little bit of time to close up, then you're cool. So,
probably not intense enough to do any damage, Will says.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Like, unless you're pointing a 3-watt laser
beam
into
in
your eyeball, you're fine.
Probably doing more damage by rubbing them. Yeah.
Yep. So normally I'll turn the lights on, I'll have my eyes closed like this, and then sort of just over time I'll start to,
it's like Yoda,
a little bit.
Yoda gone.
Yeah. It's like,
to the bathroom at 3 a.m. trying to stay asleep.
Exactly. The vent, getting the rods and cones chat. Yeah, if you are interested in more of that, I do have an episode busting the myth of blue light glasses, which you can go watch as well.
If you guys are watching this on YouTube, I'll pop that VOD down in the description below about blue light and some of the myths around that.
Nice.
Cool. But I think that wraps up the fitness portion of the show. So we are going to be doing this show every single week on Fridays, hopefully. There might be days where maybe sometimes we need to do it on a different day if things come up.
Yep.
However, that's going to wrap up, I think, the talk show portion of the stream. So we are going to jump over and we're going to do a game together now. We're going to play a co-op game called We Were Here, which is like an escape room co-op thing where you can only communicate to each other via a walkie-talkie. So we're not going to be on Discord. We're talking through the game. So hopefully the audio quality's okay.
Should be okay, hopefully.
If it's crappy, what we
some...
could do is just like push to talk in the segments where it's allowing us to talk via the walkie-talkies, maybe.
No worries.
So yeah, if you guys are watching live, stick around. We're going to chuck on the game. If you guys are watching the VOD, I'll probably cut the VOD here, I think, for Twitch, for the talk show portion, and also for the YouTube viewers. So if you guys want to catch this stream live, it's going to be every week on my channel, iamfallfromgrace, and on Fit for Purpose, which is Jeff's perspective.
Yeah.
Do you want to add
Sweet.
anything?
So I'm just gonna say I'll say goodbye to everyone on Fit for Purpose now, because I'll do the game portion on my personal channel, just to keep the games off of the Fit for Purpose one, which we wanted to keep to the talk show and to the fitness stuff. So if you are, just shout out FFP Jeff. So there's FFP Jeff, but otherwise just watch on Grace's perspective, and you'll see some cool gameplay there.
Awesome. So for people that are watching on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed. We hope to see you live over on Twitch, so you can join into the chat and into the community when we do this live. Hope you guys enjoyed. Give us a goodbye, Jeff. Goodbye.
See you later.